the work, save the taxpayers the money, and just negotiate the best deal you could possibly get.
Right. Well, of course, that would be the smart and wise thing to do. But, you know, I think that Hunter's team could think to themselves, well, DOJ screwed us over last summer when we thought we had this deal with them. And then suddenly, when the judge asked a couple of questions, it was all out the window. So, you know what? Why should we return the same courtesy to them? But, of course, to Professor Turley's point, how unwise.
Doth speaketh of revenge.
Right. I mean, how unwise. The Department of Justice does not like to be surprised, and it certainly doesn't like to be jerked around. And that is happening tenfold today, and it's been happening for months. You know, I'm thinking about Hunter Biden showing up on Capitol Hill and all of these like crazy dramatic PR stunts. Judges don't like that kind of stuff. DOJ doesn't like that kind of stuff. In fact, it makes them double down. It makes them hostile towards your case. But, you know, this is how they've operated all along. And I guess they could say, well, you know, we don't think that DOJ treated us fairly in this either. So here we are.
I mean, Jonathan, when you think about the waiting by so many that is happening inside that courtroom right now, what do you... Okay, that's a live shot, Joe Biden arriving there. We know that we're about to get his big economic speech after former President Donald Trump just delivered his here in New York. Biden will be speaking 4 o'clock Eastern time. I'll be covering that here on the Fox News channel. Jonathan, to you, though, on what's happening inside that courthouse right now, do you imagine?
Well, the rejection of the Alford plea now sort of shifts that burden back to the defense. They have to decide whether they're going to continue this, but they're sort of playing a game of chicken alone. There's nobody in the other car. I mean, that's a dangerous game of chicken because, you know, the DOJ is just watching them because they have nothing to lose here. They've got a lead pipe cinch of a case. It'll be very difficult for the defense to prevail. They tried this defense in Delaware, and it was a spectacular failure, even with a favorable jury pool. So it's pretty hard to go in there and do your chest pounding like you have in past hearings and say, well, we just might go forward to the trial. And the Department of Justice is, look, we're okay either way, because either way, you're likely going to prison. So they will have to decide whether to go ahead and take a straight plea. But they've also just told this judge, I'm not particularly contrite, right? I'm willing to accept a guilty plea. I'm not willing to accept guilt. So this whole thing seems contrived for the court, which is not going to help on sentencing. And by the way, if they had gone ahead and pursued a new plea deal after the first one collapsed, and who knows what negotiations went on, they could have avoided a number of things that they're about to collide with. One is they could have gotten a comprehensive plea, and that could have come with a recommended sentence. Now he's going to go into sentencing as a convicted person because of the gun charge. And he's going to have this messy record of taking this all the way up to trial. They have maximized the aggravating circumstances, and they don't have much in terms of mitigating circumstances as we look at sentencing.
Yeah.
All right, so if you could all, this is awesome, by the way. Thanks for everybody for standing with us. If you could all just stand by, we're going to, John, I believe, add a new voice into the picture here.
We are. Andy McCarthy is going to be joining us right after the break to talk more about this. Is the defense trying to play the DOJ for fools here? How is the DOJ going to respond later on this afternoon? If Hunter Biden just says, OK, I'm guilty, throws himself on the mercy of the court, or does Lowell convince the DOJ to go into plea negotiations? A lot to chew over with Andy when we come back. Stay with us.
I know that one.
Upset stomach? Iberogast. Indigestion? Iberogast. Bloating? Iberogast. Thanks to a unique combination of herbs, Iberogast helps relieve 6 digestive symptoms to help you feel better. 6 digestive symptoms, the power of nature. Iberogast.
Football season already and not a satellite dish in sight.
I hardly recognize the roofs I grew up on. Enough squawking.
Oh, great.
Coach Brian! Y'all are whining while everyone else is watching nonstop football on DirecTV. Tell me, whose house is this?
Their house?
I think they're renting. Listen. I know they get easy access to all this football, but you know what you got?
What, Coach?
A crumb bum attitude.
Stream football without a satellite dish.
Now drop and give me 20.
20 what?
I hear it all the time. People tell me they'd love to buy gold, but because it's gold, they think it must be complicated. It isn't. Not with Roslyn Capital. With Roslyn, the entire process from start to finish is built on one concept. One, keep it simple.
Roslyn Capital, a trusted leader in helping people acquire precious metals. Gold bullion, Lady Liberty gold and silver proofs, and our premium coins can help you preserve your wealth. Call Roslyn Capital at 800-630-8900 to receive your free Roslyn Guide to Gold, Gold and Precious Metals IRA, and silver brochures. With Roslyn, there are no hassles, no gimmicks, and our shipping is fast and reliable.
Remember, keep it simple. Make gold your new standard.
Call Roslyn Capital today at 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. That's 800-630-8900.
Life insurance is too important to put off another day. That's why SelectQuote makes getting coverage you need easy. Now get up to a $2 million policy with no medical exam and same-day coverage.
Visit SelectQuote.com now.
Hi, Mike Huckabee here, and this election is going to have many of us up at night, me included. The very balance of our country is hanging by a thread. That's why I'm going to make sure I vote. And until then, I'm going to make sure I get a good night's sleep with Relaxium Sleep, America's #1 trusted sleep aid.
I'm Dr. Eric Siliberti, founder of Relaxium, America's most trusted sleep aid.
Just like you're seeing me on television now, I saw a commercial for Relaxium Sleep back then. I called, and the rest is history.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling like I've had the best night's sleep.
As a clinical neurologist, I know how essential sleep is for building and nourishing both your mental and physical health.
Relaxium Sleep is made in the USA, has no risk of dependency, and is drug-free. It's also the only sleep aid with Valarest as part of its triple action formula.
I developed Relaxium to help my patients fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Relaxium Sleep worked from the very first night I took it.
You've got to try Relaxium Sleep for yourself, because once you do, you'll be a customer for life, just like me. And right now, you can try it for free.
For nearly 2 decades now, Relaxium Sleep has been changing millions of lives.
Take Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
If you're experiencing sleepless nights or tossing and turning, you need to try Relaxium Sleep now.
I trust Relaxium Sleep, and so should you. Get the best night of sleep guaranteed. Don't wait another minute. Call now.
Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium Sleep will work for you, he's asked us to give away another 1,000 bottles. Get your free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now.
Explosive day in a Los Angeles courtroom. Hunter Biden was supposed to begin jury selection and then instead said that they wanted to enter a guilty plea, but it was a specific type of guilty plea to which the DOJ said not going to happen. Our Jonathan Hunt is live at the courthouse with the latest. Jonathan, what do you got?
John, if it looks like I've got a case of the broadcast news flop sweats, it's because it's 100 degrees on the street here in downtown LA today. I can tell you this, it's likely even hotter, the atmosphere in that courtroom right now, where prosecutors are laying out what we assume are the DOJ's objections to this plea. Now, it started off as an odd day today because Hunter Biden showed up and walked into court. He has not done that in any other of the hearings in this case. He's always been driven in by Secret Service into an underground parking garage. But today he walked in holding the hand of his wife, Melissa, flanked by Secret Service agents, trailed by Abby Lowell. And then it was Abby Lowell who dropped that bombshell in court, saying he was changing his plea to guilty, but it was this Alford plea, whereby the defendant, in this case Hunter Biden, of course, accepts that the prosecution could prove on the basis of evidence that he was guilty of these crimes, but he, the defendant Hunter Biden, maintains his innocence. That sounds complete gobbledygook, I think, to a lot of laymen and our viewers, but it is a plea that is possible. We understand from the DOJ that it has been rejected. We're waiting right now for information from our producers inside the courtroom to confirm that that is the case. The prosecutors are laying out that they do indeed reject that plea. As soon as we get that information, information, we'll bring it to you. But clearly we are in an unknown stage of this trial now. We don't know where we will go from here, what the judge's reaction will be. And then even if they do ultimately agree that he can enter this Alford plea, they'd have to get to sentencing on those 9 counts, including 3 felonies. He faces a potential 17 years in prison. Would he be given anywhere near that, or would it be far less than that? And in the background of all of this, John, is the question of whether President Biden might pardon him or commute the sentence, both in this case and in the gun conviction that has already happened back in Delaware. Now, Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, speaking on Air Force One earlier today, said the answer to those, will there be a pardon, will there be a commutation, is still a no, might be still a no until it's a yes. And finally, John, check your inbox. I sent you the BBC Sport definition of googly. That's what we're in today.
Love it. Thank you so much, because everybody knows there's no bigger cricket fan than me. Jonathan, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
By the way, he was not joking. It is 99 degrees outside that courthouse. All right, let's add into the conversation Andy McCarthy. Andy, your thoughts. Thanks for joining us.
I think today I like brushback pitch better than googly, because I think that's what happened this morning. I think basically the Biden team decided to throw a high hard one at the government. They really don't have much else, in the hope that they would say, okay, fine, let's do it, let's get rid of it. I don't think there's much chance of that happening. And actually, if I'm the government and I'm the judge, I'm really aggravated about this, because an Alford plea, as my co-panelists have pointed out a number of times, is not something a defendant has a right to do. As Judge Janine said before, you have a right as the defendant to come in and plead guilty to all the charges. No one can stop you from doing that. But an Alford plea, you want something from the government. You want them to allow you to plead guilty without having to admit guilt. That's a plea arrangement. If I'm the government, I'm annoyed about it, because I should have heard about it before you announced it in open court, but also because in federal law, and this is very different from a lot of state law, the court is not supposed to be involved in plea negotiations. And if I'm the government, what I interpret this as is the possibility that Hunter was trying to use the court as leverage to pressure the government to permit the plea to happen. Judges are busy guys and women. They have very heavy calendars. He may not want to try a 5 to 6 week case. The judge might decide that, it'd be nice if a plea made this whole thing go away. And Hunter's team may have been calculating that they could get Judge Scarcy to lean on the government to take the plea. My sense is that would not be a good calculation in this case, but it's at least something. So I think it's improper under federal law. And it's the kind of thing you're supposed to negotiate with the prosecutor beforehand. And the only right response to it is, let's go to trial. If you want to plead guilty, no one can stop you from pleading guilty, but let's go to trial.
All right. Well, on that point and expanding it, and I got to say, this is beginning to look more like, I don't know if it's Hollywood Squares or if it's the end of Love Actually, where they keep going to more and more and more little boxes all the way. But let's go to Carrie on this, because you used to work at the DOJ. And the one thing that I'm wondering, and we were talking about this actually off camera, is, if you wanted to enter a guilty plea, you would get into negotiations with the DOJ, and you would, cut some sort of a plea deal where you get the best possible outcome for yourself. And Hunter Biden's attorneys in the past have proven themselves to be quite astute at crafting plea deals, as long as they can slide them underneath the radar when it comes to the judge. But by pulling this move today, you have eliminated the possibility of negotiating any kind of plea deal with the DOJ. So the only recourse that you have left is to plead guilty outright, throw yourself on the mercy of the court, it would seem.
The more I think about this, Abby Lowell is a smart lawyer. Everyone in Washington, D.C. knows that. And so the fact that they'd go in there and aggravate DOJ and the judge, which I'm sure they have, there's no way that DOJ is happy about being jerked around like this all day. It's embarrassing for them. To be frank, it almost feels like they're mocking them at this point. And the only way they would have the luxury, they being Hunter Biden's team, of mocking the Department of Justice is if they knew that their client was going to get pardoned. Because if you plead guilty to everything, talk about, it's your point. It's not just about plea negotiations. There's no chance for anything else to be dropped or a sentence to be reduced or something like that. And so it kind of feels like they're burning everything down because they know they can. And that is quite something.
Judge, you and I were talking during the commercial break about bad blood with Abby Lowell and these prosecutors. Final thought from you.
Yeah, this is really about bad blood. You had the prosecution and Abby Lowell, the defense, pretty much in cahoots, trying to pull the wool over a judge's eyes and engaging in a plea deal that gave, immunity in perpetuity, that they had to ultimately stand up and say, we've never done this before in the Department of Justice, who are now at odds with each other, where the Department of Justice is dropping all kinds of negative information in their delayed bill of particulars about Hunter Biden that impacts his father. And the fact that they are now at a point where they're going in and getting the judge involved, as Andy is saying, in something that judges don't normally get involved in, is they're saying, look, we've got the ace in the hole. I'm not talking to you. I'm not giving you any warning. I engaged in no plea negotiations because I don't need you anymore. I know what I've got at the end of this. And so let me just see if I can get this in an Alford. Maybe they knew they'd never get it, but at the end of the day, what they will do is plead guilty. No one can stop them because they get the pardon at the end.
Yeah. All right. So the consensus seems to me among our panel of learned legal scholars that somewhere along the road, even though they have consistently said it won't happen, Joe Biden has whispered in the ear of Hunter Biden that I'll pardon you. So, all right, folks, thank you so much for being with us. Really appreciate it.
All right, thanks to all of you. All right, new details, meanwhile, emerging in yesterday's deadly shooting in Georgia. The alleged shooter on the FBI's radar, we are learning since 2023 what his father told Georgia police when he was interviewed last year and what it could mean for this case moving forward.
Everybody wants super straight, super white teeth. They want that Hollywood white smile. New Sensodyne Clinical White provides 2 shades whiter teeth and 24/7 sensitivity protection. I think it's a great product. It's going to help a lot of patients.
Look out, 'cause here I come. Have you always had trouble losing weight and keeping it off? Same.
Discover the power of Wegovy.
And I'm marching on to the beat I drum.
With Wegovy, I lost 35 pounds. And some lost over 46 pounds.
Wegovy.
And I'm keeping the weight off.
Wegovy helps you lose weight and keep it off.
I'm reducing my risk.
Wegovy is the only FDA-approved weight management medicine that's proven to reduce risk of major cardiovascular events in adults with known heart disease and with either obesity or overweight.
Wegovy shouldn't be used with semaglutide or GLP-1 medicines. Don't take Wegovy if you or your family had medullary thyroid cancer, multiple endocrine neoplasia syndrome type 2, or if allergic to it. Stop Wegovy and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or an allergic reaction. Serious side effects may happen, including pancreatitis and gallbladder problems. Wegovy may cause low blood sugar in people with diabetes, especially if you take medicines to treat diabetes. Tell your provider about vision problems or changes, or if you feel your heart racing while at rest. Depression or thoughts of suicide may occur. Call your provider right away if you have any mental changes. Common side effects like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea may lead to dehydration, which may cause kidney problems.
With Wegovy,
I'm losing weight.
I'm keeping it off.
And I'm lowering my CV risk.
that's the power of winning. Wegovy.
Check your cost and coverage before talking to your healthcare professional about Wegovy.
Judge Napolitano here. Did you know there's a silver shortage? Former Wall Street analyst John Rubino predicts the silver shortage could cause an imminent price spike. Listen to this.
So that silver shortage we've been predicting for such a long time is finally here. Solar and electric cars are using up all the metal that is out there and then some, and that's going to spike the silver price in the next couple of years.
I used to own just gold. Now I also own silver. Why should you consider silver? Find out of the silver shortage report, and my trusted friends at Lear Capital will send it to you for free. Lear is whom I trust whenever I buy silver.
Get your free silver shortage report and see why experts believe silver prices are set to soar. Lear Capital, over 25 years in business, thousands of 5-star reviews, and a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. When you call, ask how you can get up to $15,000 in bonus silver. Call 800-654-1010, 800-654-1010.
It appears that despite my sinister efforts, employees are still managing their own HR and payroll. Why would you think mere humans deserve to do their own payroll? Because their livelihoods depend on it? Because they have bills to pay? Hear me now, Paycom. Return the world of HR and payroll to its rightful place of chaos, or face a tsunami of unnecessary, the likes of which you have never seen.
Take advantage of everything AARP has to offer right now. Join AARP for $9 per year with a 5-year term, and your second membership is free. Get access to discounts on everyday purchases, eye care and prescriptions, and tools and tips to help manage your money and maximize your health. Plus, AARP fights to protect your Social Security, Medicare, and more. Join and get an insulated trunk organizer free, plus AARP the magazine. Call or go to joinaarp.org now.
University of Maryland Global Campus is a school for real life, one that values the successes you've already achieved. Earn up to 90 undergraduate credits for relevant experience, and get the support you need from your first day to graduation day and beyond. What will your next success be?
When you can't watch, listen. Get the latest news, business, and news headlines on SiriusXM. Anytime, anywhere. Fox News Audio on SiriusXM. America is listening.
Well, we've got an update from the court in Los Angeles. Remember, we were describing the whole process in cricket terms, a googly, which is a ball that spins and bounces all over the place. Well, here's the latest bounce, but you could also call it a knuckleball, too, in American terms. But here is the latest bounce or twist and turn in this case. The discussion has been all about this plea deal called an Alford plea deal that we've been talking about, and that the DOJ has said that it objects to an Alford plea deal. Now, in most cases, we have understood that the DOJ needs to agree to this and that a higher up at the Department of Justice has to sign off on this. Well, how about this for the latest wrinkle? At the end of the discussion, just before the court went into a 30-minute recess, Judge Mark Scarsi said the court doesn't need the government's agreement to accept an Alford plea. So, Sandra, it looks like Hunter Biden's attorney, Abby Lowell, is pushing this point, trying to get the court to agree with it, regardless of what the DOJ says or how they feel about it.
You can only imagine the exchanges that are happening in that courtroom right now. Of course, we don't have those exact details, but as we get the updates, we'll continue to bring that to our viewers. That's something.
So it looks like it's possible for the DOJ to say, we object to this, we're not going to sign off of it, and the judge says, doesn't matter what you think, I'm going to sign off on it. Case closed. We'll see what happens this afternoon.
We will. All right, so we'll keep watching that. Court will resume 3:10 p.m. Eastern time, we are told. The suspect, meanwhile, behind yesterday's horrific school shooting in Georgia that killed 2 students and 2 teachers, now facing felony murder charges, that shooter. This as we learn more about the alleged gunman. Officials say the 14-year-old suspect had been on the FBI's radar since last year for making violent threats online. He is now being charged with murder and will be tried as an adult. Senior correspondent Steve Harrigan is live in Winder, Georgia, with the very latest from there. Steve, what are we learning right now?
Well, Sandra, you're right. He's going to face 4 felony murder charges. He's going to be tried as an adult. But right now, he's actually being held in a youth facility and in detention about 30 miles away from here. We're also getting some new details about exactly what went on during the shooting and the fear that some of the teachers and students felt while those at least 10 shots were being fired yesterday.
One teacher was shaking and she was scared, hiding under a desk. The other one was telling us to shut off our phones and be really quiet and that it would be okay. Students were just holding on to each other and like crying, really scared.
We've seen students all afternoon here walking up with flowers to a memorial behind me. And we're learning also, too, that as far as the radar goes, that this 14-year-old suspected shooter was really on police and law enforcement's radar for 15 months now. Local law enforcement interviewed him and his father about 1 year ago after an online post threatened to shoot up a middle school, but they said they had no grounds to make any arrest after that interview. All county schools are going to be closed for the rest of the week, and the football game scheduled here for Friday night has been canceled. One of the defensive coaches was among those killed. Sandra, back to you.
Absolutely. So horrific and sad. Steve Harrigan, thank you very much. John?
Sandra, a major revision to last month's job data related to the uptick in immigration. All right, Ed Lawrence has that story coming up next.
Meet the Jennifers. Gen X, Gen Y, and Gen Z. Each planning their future through the Chase mobile app. Gen X is planning a summer in Portugal with some help from JP Morgan Wealth Plan. Let's go, Whiskers. Gen Y is working with a banker to budget for her birthday.
You only turn 30 once.
And Gen Z, her credit's golden. Hello, new apartment. 3 gens getting ahead with Chase. Solutions that grow with you. One bank for now, for later, for life. Chase, make more of what's yours.
When things go sideways, will you be prepared? I want to introduce you to the Patriot Power Generator 2000X. Use the endless free power of the sun to power lights, your TV, medical equipment, even run your fridge. And that's without gas, fumes, or noise. Go to 4patriots.com. You'll get a solar panel included free, double the capacity, expandable for more power, and more outlets than ever. This is about peace of mind. Get your solar generator and free panel at 4patriots.com.
For a limited time, Subway just dropped the price of every footlong in the app to $6.99. Wait, Subway did what? $6.99 footlongs? Yep, says right here, $6.99 for any footlong. Get this deal in the Subway app now before it's too late.
I'm impressed with the variety of fruits and vegetables in Balance of Nature.
I like Balance of Nature because of the 31 individual ingredients that they have stuffed into these little capsules.
Why not try Balance of Nature? Simple, easy. 3 capsules a day of fruits and veggies, a mixture of different fruits that were thoughtfully selected for their nutritional value.
Get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Use discount code FOXNews.
With MyQ, home is just a touch away. MyQ is the only smart home security solution that provides video monitoring, real-time notifications, and lets you decide who comes in and who stays out. All in one easy-to-use app.
Tonight on the Ingram Angle, another Democrat jump ship, this time in California. She's here with a warning for her old party. Tonight on the Angle.
For a limited time, save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets.
Tomorrow's highly anticipated jobs report is going to tell us whether or not the economy is doing well or if it's doing poorly. As experts say, immigrants, both legal and illegal, are a big factor in the jobs data. Fox Business's Edward Lawrence is live at the White House. No one better to decipher all of this for us. Edward?
Yeah, and we do have to do some peeling of the onion here, John. Yeah, so immigrants coming through the past year, legal and illegal, have outpaced native-born workers in getting jobs. Now, the Federal Reserve is worried about the underlying strength of the job market. In fact, that could be seen in the last jobs report that was out that talked about the amount of job openings. 62,000 more people were laid off than first thought in June, July even more. So I asked if Bidenomics may not have produced a strong enough jobs market. Listen to this. We have a jobs report coming out on Friday. Has the jobs growth significantly stalled in this country?
So a couple of things that I do want to touch on. We're trying to get our economy back to normal, and we're seeing signs of that. We're seeing data. The job market remains strong.
So when you look at adding immigration to the mix, the CBO estimates 7 in 10 new migrants did not come through normal channels here. The Biden-Harris administration has been trying to increase the amount of work permits for these people. But listen to the other side of this.
We forget that the labor market is fundamentally a market. It abides by the laws of supply and demand. And if you're going to increase supply, in this case, massively increase supply, specifically the supply of low-skilled labor, then you will depress wage growth because wages are the price in the labor market.
And now we have companies shrinking the amount of people they're hiring. John?
All right, we'll look forward to those numbers tomorrow and see where they go. Ed Lawrence, it's good to have you on board. We'll be right back.
Every day, veteran homeowners are calling New Day to pay off credit card debt that's been piling up. Many were shocked to learn they've been paying 22% on their credit card balances. And if payments were late, as much as 30%. That's over 3 times the interest rate on a New Day 100 VA home loan. Pay off high-rate credit cards and other debt with a lower-rate New Day home loan. Save hundreds a month, thousands a year. Call 1-844-934-2568.
Clogged gutters can cause big problems fast. Until now. Call 833-LEAF Filter today for your free gutter inspection.
I've had terrible flooding problems on my porch. Now I understand why.
Right now, Leaf Filter is offering a free inspection on your schedule. Leaf Filter is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
Call us today and schedule your free inspection.
To schedule your free inspection, call 833-LEAF Filter today or visit leaffilter.com.
I have dry eye, tired, itchy, burning. My symptoms got worse over time. My eye doctor explained the root was inflammation, so he prescribed Xiidra. Xiidra works differently. Xiidra targets inflammation. Over-the-counter drops don't do this. They only hit pause in my symptoms. But twice daily Xiidra gives me lasting relief.
Xiidra treats the signs and symptoms of dry eye disease. Don't use if allergic to Xiidra and seek medical help if needed. Common side effects include eye irritation, discomfort, blurred vision, and unusual taste sensation. Don't touch container tip to your eye or any surface. Before using Xiidra, remove contact lenses and wait 15 minutes before reinserting.
Dry eye over and over, it's time for Xiidra.
Who's coming in the driveway?
My daughter is being treated for leukemia. I hope that she lives a long, great, happy life and that she will never forget how Mom and Daddy love her. St. Jude, this is what's keeping my baby girl alive.
This September, you can join the battle to save lives during Childhood Cancer Awareness Month by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. For just $19 a month, you'll help us continue the life-saving research and treatment these kids need now and in the future.
Cancer makes me feel angry, not in the, feel on the outside, just the inside I'm angry at.
When your kid is hurting and there's nothing you can do about it, that's the worst feeling in the world.
1 in 5 children diagnosed with cancer in the U.S. will not survive.
Those that donate to St. Jude, I hope that you will continue to give. They have done so much for me and my family.
Join with your debit or credit card now and we'll send you this St. Jude t-shirt that you can proudly wear.
Están salvando vidas. Y la vida de mi hija es una de ellas.
You ready to go have some fun?
When we came here, we didn't know what tomorrow would hold. St. Jude showed us that tomorrow there's hope for our little girl to survive.
Let's cure childhood cancer together. Please donate now.
Life insurance is too important to put off another day. That's why SelectQuote makes getting coverage you need easy. Now get up to a $2 million policy with no medical exam and same-day coverage.
Visit SelectQuote.com now.
Whoa, what a day. I am totally verhargert, you know? We'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Roberts.
All right, I'll see you all at 4. I'm in for Neil. I'm Sandra Smith. The Story with Martha starts right now.
All right, thank you guys. Lots popping this afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum, and this is the story. We are waiting right now for Hunter Biden's tax trial to come back from a quick break in Los Angeles. This is kind of bizarre the more we learn about what's going on here. So this morning, he offered to change his plea to guilty. His lawyer dropped that bombshell on day one of jury selection, which was supposed to be today and tomorrow, and then opening arguments were all set for Monday, as far as the government knew. And then this. So the feds have charged the president's son with dodging more than $1 million in taxes and, a big no-no, filing false returns. All of this could add up to 17 years in jail if he were to be convicted on all of it. Now, the prosecutors say that instead of paying his taxes during this period, Hunter spent his money on, among other things, adult entertainment. Various women is one of the subcategories here, and adult entertainment. Jonathan Turley is standing by as we read through what's coming from our own reporters and producers on the ground there. Some of it just raises quite a few questions. Let's go first to our chief correspondent on the scene there, Jonathan Hunt, who is live at the courthouse. Jonathan, you know, what we're hearing from you and your producer raising a lot of questions about what is going on in there. What can you tell us?
Yeah, there are a lot of questions. It has been a thoroughly bizarre day from the start here, Martha. We got our first inclination that this might be an unusual day when Hunter Biden arrived at court today. In every other hearing in this case, he has been driven into an underground parking garage by Secret Service. We have not seen him other than inside the courtroom itself. But today, Secret Service dropped him off curbside and he walked in flanked by Secret Service agents, holding the hand of his wife, Melissa, and followed by one of his lead attorneys, Abby Lowell. And it was then Abby Lowell that dropped that bombshell, saying his client, Hunter Biden, was going to change his plea to guilty, but in what is called an Alford plea. And it's a weird thing for the layman to understand, so thank goodness we have Jonathan Turley on deck. But essentially, what Biden is accepting is, according to Abby Lowell, and this is a quote, Biden concludes that if he went to trial, he would be convicted beyond reasonable doubt. But at the same time, he still asserts his innocence. So that's the basis of an Alford plea. Now, Leo Wise, who is the lead prosecutor in this, has objected to it on behalf of the DOJ and said, quote, Hunter Biden is not innocent. Hunter Biden is guilty. So we now have this standoff, if you like, in court. The defense saying we'll plead guilty under these very strict conditions of an Alford plea. The DOJ, through the prosecutors, saying no, we don't accept that. And now Judge Scarsi is in court talking, or has been in court, talking about how he believes this should be handled. It looks like they're essentially going to come back tomorrow and the judge will tell us what he thinks of this. One important note, Martha, is at the end of the last session, we're about to start again in about 7 minutes, but at the end of the last session, Judge Scarsi apparently said that the court does not need the government's approval to accept the Alford plea. Now, that doesn't indicate that he is going to take that route and say, I'm ignoring DOJ's objections and I will accept this Alford plea, case closed. But it does mean that he obviously has that option in mind. So it is a really interesting point we're at now. As you mentioned, Hunter Biden was facing up to 17 years on those 9 charges that include 3 felonies. And the question would be, if this sort of plea is accepted, or indeed if there is a plea deal further down the line now, what sentence he would get, and whether, of course, President Biden might pardon him or commute that sentence. And I know you're going to talk more about that later, Martha.
Absolutely. Jonathan, thank you very much.
Sure.
So the White House saying again today that President Biden will not pardon his son, as Jonathan just reported. Reporters also asked about the other option. Watch this.
I can say that it is still very much a no to the questions that I've gotten about if the president's going to pardon his son, but I don't have anything else to add.
Can you comment on whether a commutation would be on or off the table?
That's also no.
Also no. So Karine Jean-Pierre is saying that there will be no pardon from President Biden for his son Hunter and no commutation, at least as of this afternoon on September the 5th. So let's bring in John Turley, constitutional law attorney. GW law professor and a Fox News contributor who we keep very busy on days like this. So it's good to have you back with us, Jonathan. Thank you for being here. I saw you earlier this morning on Outnumbered when all of this was kind of spilling out. You know, it strikes me a lot of questions here. Abby Lowell said during both of these sessions, despite the complex nature of what they showed up with today and what a kind of jaw dropper it was to put the brakes on all the gears that were in motion, he says he thinks the offering can all be done today. They should be able to wrap this up today. What do you think of his strategy here? What's he doing exactly, in your opinion?
I don't see any discernible strategy at all. I mean, I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I think that they have placed Hunter Biden in the worst possible position. I mean, they could have reached a plea agreement months ago when they had something to offer. By waiting to the very last minute, they are guaranteeing that he gets very little benefit from a plea deal. But I also have to tell you, Alford pleas are not so rare in the criminal justice system that it was surprising to see them pursuing it. I might have pursued the same thing. But I have never in my career ever heard of an Alford plea being proposed without speaking to the prosecutors beforehand. That type of jump scare in the middle of the courtroom in front of a judge is not a good idea. The prosecutors have a big role in this. Now, about 17% of state cases end up in Alford pleas. About 5% of federal cases end up in Alfords or no contest pleas. So these are something that come up occasionally. But I have never, ever heard of any defense team walking in and without first telling the prosecutors. And I think that's one of the reasons there was a very fast opposition to the Alford plea from the prosecutors. They are clearly miffed, and I'm not too sure I blame them.
You know, it's so interesting to me. It's possible that, I mean, this defendant, Hunter Biden, who Abby Lowell has just said that one of the reasons they're in recess right now is so that he can explain to Hunter Biden what entering a plea means. So first of all, this is a Yale law graduate, Hunter Biden. So I don't know why he would not understand all this. Secondarily, is it possible in your mind, knowing these players, that this is all being pushed by Hunter Biden, that Abby Lowell wanted to go a different course, and that Hunter Biden woke up yesterday or today and said, no, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to go for the Alford plea. I'm going to say that I'm accepting a guilty plea, but I am not actually guilty, and we're going to drop this bombshell today.
Well, it very well could be the client driving this, because it seems to have all the planning of a collapsing bridge. I mean, I just don't see why anyone would take this course of action. But I certainly don't think that a lawyer needs to have these pleas explained to him. The problem for Hunter is, yeah, the problem for Hunter is that this whole thing now looks contrived to the judge. You just told the judge you don't think you're guilty. And so if he rejects the Alford plea, then you have to come in, if you want to avoid trial, and say, okay, I plead guilty and I accept guilt, after just yesterday saying I don't accept guilt. None of that's going to help with sentencing. I mean, the expectation is that the Justice Department's going to ask for jail time, and I think it's likely if they ask for it, they'll get it from this judge. So once again, they couldn't have positioned themselves in a worse spot and going into this sentencing. Keep in mind, if they had simply reached a new deal after the first one collapsed, they could have had a global agreement of all of these cases. Now he's going to go in sentencing as a convicted person on the gun charges. Right. So that's going to be another aggravator.
Is scheduled for November. Let me ask you this question, and I'm not sure if I remember how this ended up, so I'm hoping that you do. When the plea deal fell apart in June under Judge Noriega, Abby Lowell contested that. He said, you can't do that. This plea deal is set. Right. This was agreed upon by all parties. And to my recollection, that's still what he believes. Is it possible that he could use that? He could say, look, you guys dumped apart this plea deal that we had put together in good faith with both sides. And now what you're going to do for us is agree to this Alford plea. Is that possible?
Well, it's possible, but the argument they were making about that being a viable plea bargain was fallacious. It was rejected by the court for good reason. And part of the problem is that when that fell apart in the middle of the courtroom, the defense stood up and said, well, just rip it up. And many of us who've done criminal cases were like, you know, that's not usually the words you want to use when your client is facing an absolute lead pipe cinch case against him. And so they did rip it up. But the Department of Justice later accused the Biden team of not seriously engaging in negotiations for a new plea agreement. And that also made no sense because they didn't have anything to negotiate with. He was going to head to convictions and likely jail. So they should have done this last year.
Yeah, well, all of this, they thought at one point all of this was going to go away with this plea deal that the judge basically called ridiculous because it would have exonerated him from that situation and future legal prosecutions. And she said, why would anyone sign on to this deal? One of the things that blew that deal up is the individual that I'm going to speak with in just a moment, Gary Shapley. So, Jonathan, thank you very much for watching this with us this afternoon. Let me just fill people in. The latest that is coming out of the courtroom is that there's concerns about the 100 prospective jurors who have been holed up all morning. They thought they were showing up for jury duty for a couple of days, and they're waiting to figure out what happens to their situation, too, having put all their plans for today and tomorrow on hold. So we'll keep you posted as we continue to get new information coming out of this courtroom, and they're about to finish up this 10-minute recess. So joining me now is Gary Shapley, an IRS whistleblower who was at the heart of the investigation into Hunter Biden, the president's son, and he saw something that he had not seen in his many years of working as an IRS agent, that a case that he felt had clear felony behavior was being slow-walked by his higher-ups. So he joins me, and Shapley's attorney, Mike Lytle, as well. Gentlemen, welcome back to the story. Good to have you here today. So first question, Mr. Shapley, for you is, what's your reaction to what you see here today? And what do you think about the fact that Hunter Biden, who you believed was guilty all along in this case, has decided, as late as today, I guess, that you were right?
Well, Martha, ultimately, what happens in this courtroom today, or whether he was charged or not, was not the reason why Joe Ziegler and I came forward. We came forward because of what we saw DOJ doing and providing preferential treatment and political interference in this case. And you know, this is kind of it's a little bit of vindication, but it's really not why we came forward. And now we're more focused on how are we going to hold DOJ accountable for the things that they've actually proved themselves that we were right in the way that they were handling this case. And hopefully there'll be some mechanism to do so.
Yeah, it's such a roller coaster here because now you have the Department of Justice, who was finally ready to move forward with these charges, put back on their heels today when he walks in the door and says, well, I'm going to say I'm guilty, but I'm not really guilty. Mark Lytle, what do you make of all this?
Hi, Martha. It's a disservice to the American public, to be honest with you. When someone comes before the criminal justice system, the public needs to know whether the person's found guilty or not guilty. And to allow someone to come forward and claim innocence and then also resolve the charges, it's not going to end there. This case would proceed through sentencing process and beyond, where you would have a defendant saying he's always been innocent, and the judge allowed that to go forward, and the American public would not have any of the principles that are implied in sentencing, like deterrence to the general community, deterrence to the individual, punishment for wrongdoing. So it's really a disservice to the American public if the Alford plea is allowed to continue.
I mean, it seems like it's another example of Hunter Biden just expecting that he should be treated differently than everyone else. You know, okay, well, I'll cop to a guilty plea here, but I don't want to walk around for the rest of my life, you know, feeling like I did anything wrong. So that's what I want as part of this deal. Let me just put up, Mr. Shapley, Hunter Biden's alleged expenses here. This goes back to the period that you investigated as an IRS agent, and these things stood out to you as not legitimate, legal tax behavior. And it goes to expenses that were broken down. He received more than $1.2 million in financial support, and it was used to pay for various expenses, but he didn't choose to use that money to pay his taxes during that period. Tell everybody, take us all back, what really were the early red flags to you, and what happened when you raised these issues and said, you know, I don't care about the name on the top of this return, but something doesn't smell right here?
Sure, yeah. So Joe Ziegler, case agent, I mean, he developed this case, and it was based on a lot of data that we had internal with IRS. And as the case got assigned up in Delaware, it really became apparent very early on in early 2020 that they were not following the normal processes. We had search warrants that were ready to go. We had some other investigative steps we wanted to take. And each time it got close to some of these other things we needed to look at, in this case, whether it be FARA or other charges, we just got pushed back at every single step we took. I took it internally to IRS senior leadership, and they ignored the issue. And then ultimately it required me to seek counsel and to go to Congress, which has been a help, and bring this stuff forward. And I think that the steps that DOJ has taken has proven that they didn't do the right thing in the first place. I mean, on May 15th, 2023, David Weiss's office was offering this defendant a non-prosecution agreement. And of course, that morphed into the sweetheart plea deal that fell apart. And ultimately, for this defendant to be charged for the gun charge and for the tax charges, the same tax charges that Joe Ziegler wrote up in his special agent report were charged. It goes to show that DOJ is proving that what they did initially was wrong, and it shouldn't have taken two of us to really ruin our careers to bring this forward and for the American people.
I know that you testified that U.S. Attorney Weiss, David Weiss, who was the top person on this, basically you went to him and he said, look, this isn't up to me. Like, this goes above my head, right? And he claimed that he never said that to you. Is he lying?
Well, even in his testimony to Congress, he admitted that after the President Biden appointed United States Attorney in Washington, D.C., Matthew Graves, declined to bring charges there in D.C., that he requested that special charging authority. And he wouldn't say in his testimony that it was denied, but when you ask for something and you're not given it, you're denied. And then ultimately he had to go out to California to another President Biden appointed U.S. Attorney. And Martin Estrada there, in his testimony, he says that the reason why he didn't want to partner with David Weiss was because of a personnel issue, a manpower issue. And it's just, with other cases the other cases that my group has in Central District, California, it's clear that it's not a manpower issue. Yeah. So, it was this political interference.
As you claimed all along, this case was being treated differently because of who it was. And it's very ironic that now he's pushing for this guilty but not really guilty plea. And now the Department of Justice is saying, wait a minute, we have our big case that we want to bring against this individual, even though they kept sort of kicking it to the side of the road. And I just want to remind people on the way out here, Leslie Wolf, who was one of the people who was you and Mr. Ziegler say was just pushing you off this all the time. We're not going to go to the House in Delaware. We're not investigating there. Why would we shoot ourselves in the foot right before the midterm? She said, do not focus on political figure one in any of this, which of course was the president, Joe Biden, who has now decided not to run again. So Mark Lytle and Gary Shapley, thank you. You've always been good to us coming on for these stories as they have broken, and I appreciate you being here today. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, Martha.
You took the hard road,
Thanks, Martha.
both of you. Thank you very much. All right, so our breaking coverage of Hunter Biden's trial continues this hour as we await new developments from the courtroom. It's going to be back underway any minute. Also, we want to stay on top of this. Do you remember this from yesterday? So the DOJ came out, made this big appearance with, lots of documents saying that they were accusing Russia of trying to influence the United States election that's upcoming in just 2 months. And Democrats and the media were quick to use that to attack former President Trump. Does this all sound a little familiar?
I think everybody knows who dictators and bullies around the world prefer in this election. They prefer President Trump.
It really shows potentially how deeply integrated Russia is with the MAGA media.
Here in black and white, in voluminous papers that the Department of Justice has made public, is exactly the scheme, Lawrence, that you laid out, which is to get Donald Trump elected.
Okay. Twitter Files investigative journalist Matt Taibbi explains why this story of Russia collusion is never going away. Next.
Knowing where to look for the best deal. That's just one advantage of having the Home Team advantage. A team of trusted professionals working together so you can win. Meet your team now at realtor.com/hometeam.
My psoriasis was all over.
Then psoriatic arthritis. Who knew they could be connected? For me, Cosentyx works on both.
Cosentyx helps real people find clear skin. And in psoriatic arthritis can mean less joint pain and help stop further joint damage. Serious allergic reactions, severe skin reactions that look like eczema, and an increased risk of infections, some fatal, have occurred. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, had a vaccine or plan to, or if IBD symptoms develop or worsen.
Can you do this? As early as your 40s, you may lose muscle and strength. Protein supports muscle health. Ensure Max Protein has a 30-gram blend of high-quality protein to feed muscles for up to 7 hours. So take the challenge. Ensure nutrition for strength and energy.
Here's a few things I believe. Middle-class families, like the one I grew up in, they want common-sense solutions. You want lower prices and lower taxes. I believe you want to just not get by, but you want to get ahead. We must create an opportunity economy where everyone has a chance to get a car loan, buy a home, start a business. But most of all, that instead of being focused on the politics of the past, we need to be thinking about the future. I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted because you'll have power when you need it the most.
The number one thing to prepare for is extended power outages. Don't make it so hard on yourself. Have a Generac home standby generator.
And special financing and low monthly payment options are available. Call or go online now to request your free quote. Power your life with Generac.
You watching my special, aren't you?
No, I just got this great NFL offer. Guaranteed, all up front. And this one's gonna be hard to pass up.
Breaking news, LeBron James has a guaranteed NFL offer. He says it's, quote, going to be hard to pass up.
Seriously? Ooh, somebody got to call a plumber, because you got a leak.
With DraftKings, new customers bet $5 to get $250 instantly in bonus bets and a month of NFL Plus Premium. The crown is yours.
Part 2 of the Donald Trump Town Hall.
You have no choice. You've got to vote for me.
Now, the former president answers audience questions. Don't miss Part 2 tonight on Hannity.
I'm on top of the world. I'm on top of the world. I'm on top of the world.
So breaking now, new information. Russian President Vladimir Putin appearing to throw his support, although I'll leave it up to you when you listen to this, if you think he's serious or if this is tongue-in-cheek in terms of what he's saying about the 2024 election and who he supports. Watch.
As for the favorites, there is no need to define that. It's a choice by the people of America in the end. I've said that our so-to-say favorite was the acting president, Mr. Biden. He's been taken out of the race, but he advised all his supporters to support Mrs. Harris. That's what we'll do. We'll support her as well, and that's the first thing. Secondly, her laugh is so expressive and infectious. That means she's doing well.
Okay. Meanwhile, the Justice Department is accusing Russia of election interference again, and it says that 2 Russians gave a U.S. company millions of dollars to distribute social media content with hidden Russian government messaging. Conservative commentators associated with the site were never told about the ties to Russia and say that they are victims of this alleged scheme. Here's Attorney General Merrick Garland and our correspondent David Spun.
Russia today sent a statement to Fox News and some other outlets here mocking the situation. They had 5 bullet points or 6 bullet points. The first said, ha, 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 ha. 2016 wants its cliches back. In all seriousness, there is a subsection of the country that when they hear Russian interference, they may believe that it's not true. It's not a real thing. How do you assure people this is a real situation?
I'm sure that was much funnier in the original Russian, but for us, it's not funny. This is deadly serious, and we are going to treat it accordingly.
Twitter Files investigative journalist Matt Taibbi says, quote, the Russiagate scam will never die. My sons will be hearing this BS as old men. Matt, great to have you back on the program. We'd hoped to have you yesterday, and then we had some breaking news. So we appreciate your flexibility and coming back today. So when you watched this big news conference and they said $10 million in this effort to influence U.S. elections and also other countries, $10 million, which is actually not a huge amount of money, given the kind of money that floats around in these efforts. What was your takeaway from that big press conference yesterday?
Well, first of all, I mean, it's just incredible. This story just won't go away. It just reminds me of the Friday the 13th movies. No matter how many times they kill Jason, he keeps leaping out of Crystal Lake in each sequel. And this is the same thing. This Russiagate story will not die. There is a criminal case here. It remains to be seen exactly how much meat there is on the bone in the actual case. But what Merrick Garland said in the press conference is not the same as what all those commentators you showed said. He said that what this content was supporting was consistent with Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions. That's not the same as saying that they were trying to promote Donald Trump. And when you get down into the nitty-gritty of the story, it's very confusing, actually, as to what really happened and who was supporting whom.
Yeah, indeed it is. This is Joe Scarborough, jumping on this story this morning, basically saying, look, we were right all along. And I would just remind our viewers that Britt Hume, our senior political analyst, called this basically the biggest journalistic fiasco in his 50 years of covering politics. But Joe Scarborough's back on the bandwagon this morning. Watch this.
This has been going on for years. The kids call it gaslighting that get out. A lot of them that get out and talk about the Russian hoax. Oh, it's a Russian. Oh, there's no. Come on, what are you talking about? There's no connection between, this and Russia. And Russia's not trying to do. Always apologizing for Russia. Always apologizing for Putin.
All right, I just want to squeeze in one more question here. I don't think anybody is surprised, I guess, is what is the point that I'm making, that Russia tries to influence people's thinking around the world. So does China, so does Iran, and they're big players in this. But when it came to Iran, they did not say that Iran appears to be supporting the Harris campaign in similar efforts on social media. Why do you think that was, Matt?
Because the utility of this story, as a propaganda vehicle, is entirely designed. It's aimed at Donald Trump squarely. This story would not be in the news. You wouldn't have every network covering it. You wouldn't have Joe Scarborough doing rants about it if it didn't have a Donald Trump angle to it. And this has been true since the very first time they unveiled this story way back in 2016. We've seen so many iterations of this same theme, and every time it turns out to be less than meets the eye, or a hoax like I discovered with the Hamilton 68 site in the Twitter files, or the Steele dossier. So, we'll find out. But this idea that there's this ongoing, relentless, massive organized campaign by Russia to get Donald Trump elected is just a phony story. This might be a real story, but it's not a big story. Not yet, anyway.
Not yet, anyway. And I just remind people, after the Mueller investigation, which costs a lot more than $10 million to run in this country, they found that there was no conspiracy and no coordination between the Trump campaign and Russia at the end of all that. But we'll keep watching this. We'll see if this goes anywhere. And we also want to keep an eye on what's going on with Iran. Matt Taibbi will also be watching your reporting throughout the course of this, which is always really insightful. Thanks for being here. Good to see you, Matt.
Thank you, Mark.
So breaking now, we've got some brand new information from inside Hunter Biden's tax trial. His attorney, Abby Lowell, telling the judge that Hunter is ready to proceed today and to finish the case for, quote, something he did when he was a man addicted to drugs. Okay, so that's the other layer in all of this. They're just saying he didn't know what he was doing at this time and therefore cannot be held responsible for this. Let's go back to Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt, who has more on this very latest for us from the courthouse in Los Angeles. Hi, Jonathan.
Yeah, and Martha, we have very significant breaking news just in the last few moments. Hunter Biden has been put under oath by the judge, and the judge is now explaining to him what it would mean if he proceeds with entering this so-called Alford plea, where he admits that the government could prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt while maintaining that he is innocent of all charges. It's an odd plea, but it is not entirely unique within the court system. So the judge has put Hunter Biden under oath just in the last few minutes. He's explaining to him that if he proceeds with this so-called Alford plea, he gives up all of his rights to a trial. Now, the prosecutors are objecting to this. They are telling the judge that that Biden has to agree to all the facts placed in evidence by the government. We're waiting for a ruling from the judge. We could get it today, Martha. It might slide until tomorrow, but we're obviously at a critical point here, Martha.
Very interesting. So that's part of what he was in the understanding process on. If you want to do this Alford route, this is what you have to agree to in terms of all of these findings from the investigation. And I would just remind people about what Gary Shapley said. This is a DOJ that didn't want to do this investigation in the first place, but now that they've done it, and they've stuck their necks out this far, they don't want just to sort of fall by the wayside. Jonathan, thank you. Please pop in as you get more. We'll be on it throughout the program. So here's another issue that we want to get to today. How Elon Musk and former President Trump are planning to team up to slash government regulations in a very aggressive way that they believe will get the government off the back of small businesses, big businesses, taxpayers, in order to unleash an economic boom. Next.
And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force. Be interesting. If he has the time, that'd be a good one to do it. But he's agreed to do it.
Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
They gonna say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, DEI expert.
What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that?
So I'll look around the room and point to the most racist person in the room. I'm out, guys.
They gonna say you racist.
Am I Racist? Rated PG-13. Buy tickets now.
Leo. Ever since we introduced him to the farmer's dog, it's changed his quality of life.
Leo's number 2s are really getting better.
Better poo, better you. That's a good boy, Leo.
Were you worried the wedding would be too much?
Nah.
Another destination wedding? Why can't they use my backyard?
With Empower, we get all our financial questions answered, so we don't have to worry.
Empower. What's next?
When your kid is hurting and there's nothing you can do about it, that's the worst feeling in the world.
I don't think anybody ever expects to hear that their child has cancer. It's always one of those things that happens to somebody else, but it's definitely feels like your soul is sucked out of your body when they tell you that it's your baby. And you would do anything to get them to the best place that they can be for their treatment. And I knew with everything in my soul that that was St. Jude and that we had to get here.
Join the battle to save lives during Childhood Cancer Awareness Month by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Please call or go online right now and become a St. Jude Partner in Hope for only $19 a month.
My name is Hunter. I'm at St. Jude because I had osteosarcoma. Osteosarcoma is a special cancer that's in the bone, so they had to amputate my leg.
Good catch. My hero.
Here at St. Jude, you don't ever have to worry about how much treatment costs. You never get a bill, ever, for any of it.
This September, when you call or go online with your credit or debit card, you will receive this St. Jude t-shirt you can wear to show your support to help St. Jude save the lives of these children.
Without the donors, St. Jude wouldn't be here.
Thank you so much. You have saved so many kids.
Let's cure childhood cancer together.
I'm Judge Napolitano, and let me give it to you straight. I've personally seen what goes on in D.C., and folks, we could have some real challenges ahead. Congress can't stop spending money, the Fed can't stop printing money, and our national debt is destroying America. How could this impact you? Well, your dollars buy less, and the value of your retirement could be worth less. That's why gold is so important. It puts you in control of your wealth. So if you'd like to learn more, call my friends at Lear Capital. They have over 25 years of experience and thousands of five-star reviews and a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. When I buy my gold, Lear is who I trust.
Call now for your free gold and silver guide and receive Lear's latest report, $3,200 gold. See how exploding U.S. debt could get us there. When you call, ask how you can also get up to $15,000 in bonus gold. Call now to see how much bonus gold you qualify for. Call 800-880-2424. 800-880-2424.
All right. We have just 2 months to go until the election, which is just amazing. It seemed like it was so far away, and now it is right up in our grill. All right, so the economy is the main issue, continues to be for voters. 38% say that is number one for them. Here in New York City today, former President Trump laid out his plan if elected, and he says he will drill more. He will take back unspent money from the Inflation Reduction Act, which has $50 billion just sitting around unspent in it. He will also, even more aggressively than last time, go after regulations, which is something that lowers costs for Americans across the board because companies have lower costs themselves, and then they can, it helps to cut inflation. So he also says that this is something that will save the country trillions. Watch.
At the suggestion of Elon Musk, I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government. Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force.
So Fox Business senior correspondent is live at the Economic Club of New York, where former President Trump spoke about this at length today. And Charlie is the author of the new book, Go Woke and Go Broke. Charlie, good to have you with us today. What do you think about these ideas and what their impact would be on the U.S. economy? Can you hear me, Charlie?
Oh, yeah, finally. By the way, we had some technical difficulties before an ambulance was coming by.
Okay.
So we're past that. Listen, he gave Martha a full-on MAGA speech. He talked about tariffs. He talked about engaging in at least a soft trade war. And he did it before a non-MAGA crowd. If you know anything about the Economic Club of New York, I've been covering this crowd for a long time. These are globalists. They're conservative. They're Republican, many of them. But they do believe in free trade and free markets. They, however, ate it up. At least that's best I could see. They applauded him on his various comments on the migrant crisis. They accepted tariffs, I believe, and his plan for tariffs as the price of doing business for a president that's going to go out there and cut regulations, cut taxes. They also live in New York, and they've seen what some of the Democratic policies on the economy, on social issues have done. And when he brought up, and it's an economic speech, but he brought up many social issues. Kamala Harris's efforts in the past to defund the police, at least her comments. When he brought up the fact that she was the border czar and did very little to deal with the border, he made an interesting quip. He said that under her leadership on the border, Venezuela has unleashed all their prisoners to New York. They're leaving the jails in Caracas. Caracas is so safe that he proposes holding the Economic Club for New York meeting next year in Caracas. So that got a lot of laughs. This, again, not a MAGA crowd, Martha, but clearly they enjoyed what he said. I think he has support from the New York business community based on what I see. And it was an economic message, I think, that if he keeps repeating it, it will sell. And he has to explain it, explain his tariff policies.
That's right.
You know, he's talking about not just retaliatory. He's talking about retaliatory policies, not just, you know, going out there and slapping a 10% tariff on everything. So
let me ask you a
it was
question,
warmly received.
One of the things that stuck out to me was he said that he wanted to lower the corporate tax rate as low as 15%
Absolutely.
for companies who
Absolutely.
make their products here in the United States. So if you want to make your product with, you know, parts that come from China in particular, it's going to cost you a lot more to do business. But if you take the step of, you know, bringing it back home and building it here, you'll get a very low corporate tax rate. What was the response to that? And do you think it's a practical plan?
I mean, it's definitely a possible plan. I think it was positive. I have to go back and look at the transcript, which I just read again. The way I understood that is he's going to lower the corporate tax rate from where it is now. There's no doubt about that for everybody. If you want that extra bang for your buck, so to speak, right? If you want the extra bang for the buck, so to speak, that's where you can't be doing the business overseas, building stuff overseas, outsourcing. And I think most people think that's a legitimate thing to do. It's also something that, again, it's a price to pay. They look at what Kamala Harris has not really proposed, but what's leaked out about her economic plan, which is a lot more regulations and taxes, not doing much about the border. They look at this, and they'll take Donald Trump any day of the week. It is really, what I found interesting, though, to be honest with you, what I was blown away by, he knew he articulated in detail the Democratic plan on the economy it gave much more detail than Kamala Harris had so far. This is the president the nominee on the other side. It was a stark contrast to sort of the pablum you're getting out of Kamala Harris, Martha.
I mean, it's a different Donald Trump when he's speaking to this Economic Club of New York. It's not a rally. It was very policy oriented, and I think that this version will do well if we see it on Tuesday night, if we see this version of the former president in terms of explaining to people. Some of these ideas are difficult to break down and say, here's why this would matter for you. You know, I know it's easy to say, oh, I'm going to get $25,000 off if I buy a house, right? But it's more nuanced to understand the impact of these things on your bottom line. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to do that.
How do free market policies create jobs is what he said. And he gave an impassioned defense of free market policies. I was impressed.
It was very interesting to watch today. Charlie, thank you. Always good to have you with us. Thanks a lot.
Anytime. You got it.
So we got a lot popping, as I said. So let's go back to the Hunter Biden courtroom. The judge has just asked Hunter's attorney, Abby Lowell, if the guilty plea is in Hunter's best interest. And his attorney, Abby Lowell, says yes. Hunter says he is under no pressure to enter a guilty plea, and right now the indictment is being read. So unravel that with me now, Trump 2024 senior advisor and also an attorney to former President Trump and current candidate Alina Habba. Alina, good to have you here today. What do you make of what's going on? I know you were also following what's happening in the D.C. courtroom with regard to President Trump.
Yeah.
What do you make of this Hunter Biden situation and this sudden guilty plea today?
Well, obviously his lawyers had a meeting and saw what his odds were in terms of a trial and decided that it was in his best interest to file a plea deal. Obviously, I'm sure there was some element of the campaign being relayed in the interest of the Democratic Party and having all this bad press that he's been constantly giving them. I love what your last segment was. I was with the president at his economic stance. I think that's the stuff that the world needs to hear more about. All of this lawfare, and I will say, in a very impartial way, I think it goes on both sides, what we're seeing, and I don't like it. I think it needs to stop. We need to focus on policies, like you've been saying, Martha. What we're hearing, what we heard today from President Trump, economic policies. What are we actually going to do? I don't want to hear about Hunter and how he's evaded all kinds of prison and tax crimes. I frankly don't. I don't want to hear about the lawfare anymore in this country, and I think the American people are tired of it. They want to understand, what are you going to do for me? I don't want to know who Hunter slept with. I don't want to know what the DA in New York is doing while he ignores crime against Trump. I want to hear what you're going to do for my wallet, my home, and my family. And I thought today, frankly, like I said, I was there with President Trump. He did incredibly well articulating that, and I hope we get much more of that. I know that he'll be focusing on that in the future.
You know, in the spirit of what you're saying, obviously there's a lot of legal stuff going on today. And, so I want to ask you about that as well.
Sure.
But with regard to what you're saying, and I just made the comment that this very serious economic policy-oriented former president today that we saw in New York would probably acquit himself well in that on Tuesday night if he sticks to this. What's your understanding? And I asked Corey Lewandowski this the other day of what his debate prep is like. Is it happening? Is he doing debate prep?
Yes, of course. I mean, he's not. Listen, President Trump, he'll say it the best himself, and he spoke to this last night at Town Hall. President Trump is ready, willing, always to debate. He was ready, willing. Yesterday was supposed to be a debate with Kamala on Fox. She declined to do so. Why? Because she can't control Fox News. Well, that says a lot. But President Trump saying, I am ready, I know how to debate, I have done this a ton of times, that does not mean that he doesn't take his job seriously and the severity of the obligation to get these people out of the White House so that he can get back in and clean up the mess. And then we get into all the policies. But we cannot do that if on Tuesday he doesn't do what he does best, which is he's going to destroy her, and not in an angry way, but he's going to do so by talking about policy, by being President Trump that I know, and really getting to the heart of things that the American people miss and need to hear. Hunter Biden, yeah, it's a serious legal issue. The guy's taking a plea agreement. That says a lot. That says that he knew his chances as an attorney were not going to go well in a trial, even though his father has the DOJ, has D.C. That's what happens today, right? We know that we have the New York cases still going on. Jack Smith's indictment, which we had spoken about. But I will tell you this.
You were following that. Let me just interject, if I may.
Sure.
What's going to happen with that? So Jack Smith is trying to redeem his cases, which have fallen apart. And he's carved out certain elements of it because the Supreme Court said that a president is immune from official duties, not President Trump in particular. A president is immune from actions taken as official duties. So what are you learning from this Judge Chutkan case, and what you think is going to happen now? Is that case going to go forward? What does the timeline look
Much like you said about economic policies, I think it's important, and I love to speak about this, so thank you for asking me that. The American people understand what actually happened. Supreme Court said official acts of a president, any president, like you astutely said, not President Trump, President Biden, President Obama, anybody, if they are official acts done while he is in his office, they are not to be prosecuted. You cannot go into the White House afraid of being civilly or criminally sued for your acts doing what is best at that moment with advisors.
If it's an official act.
100%. Yeah. So now we have a couple things waiting. We have the hush money. Obviously, we're dealing with that garbage case and dealing with a judge that's been incredibly difficult. And with Jack Smith, what has happened was he fell apart like a domino effect. And now he has tried to get a re-indictment, which he got, which pared down basically every flawed item of the Supreme Court. He said, well, maybe if I cut it out, the world will not pay attention to the fact that the documents were toyed with, that the evidence was messed with, that I wasn't properly appointed as Jack Smith, the special counsel. You're not a special counsel. You didn't go through the normal plans. And all those things have been tried. This is, again, look, we know he's not going to get a case done before the election. So this is another headline grab, and that's the problem with our justice system. It can no longer be about headline grabs. It has to be about real justice. not politics.
Thank you very much, Alina Habba. Great to have you with us. Good to see you here in New York. So also here, Andy McCarthy, former assistant U.S. attorney and Fox News contributor. Andy, your thoughts on what we're seeing and what we're hearing coming out of this Hunter Biden case this afternoon?
Well, I think what we're down to, Martha, is can the judge legally take a plea where the defendant is not just saying, I'm not going to contest guilt, he's saying, I am affirmatively innocent, but I want to plead guilty anyway. Can the judge take that kind of a plea without the government's consent? I don't think it would be right to do so, and I also don't think it would be wise to do so. The federal sentencing is controlled by Rule 11 of the criminal procedure rules, and it requires, in a case of a nolo contendere plea, which is where you say, I'm pleading guilty, but I'm not contesting guilt, the government has to consent to that. Here, we're not talking about just nolo contendere, we're talking about something that's even more controversial. A defendant saying, I'm going to plead guilty, but I maintain that I am innocent. If the rule requires the government sign off in the less controversial situation, it should certainly require it in the more controversial situation. Plus, we all know Hunter's going to get a pardon here. If he's not made like every other defendant to get up in open court and say, I'm pleading guilty because I am guilty, we will never have any accountability in this case.
So what do you think his leverage, what do you think he thinks his leverage is in asking for this kind of situation, which is, as Jonathan Turley pointed out, it does happen. These offer decisions do happen. Not a lot, but why do you think he believes he deserves this? Because he was on drugs at the time? Because that's what Abby Lowell seems to be suggesting.
No, I don't think he thinks he deserves it. He's an entitled guy. He's acted that way his whole life, and he thinks he can get away with it. So his goal in life is to, continue along doing what Hunter does, being as deceptive as the situation calls for in terms of his interest, without admitting guilt and without ever saying, yeah, I did that and it was wrong, at least where it costs him. And here it's going to cost him if he has to get up in court and say, I did it. Because even when his father pardons him down the road, we'll always have at least a transcript where he got up in court and admitted that he did it, unless the judge allows him to get away with the game he's playing now.
What do you make of the fact that the White House says that the president will stand by his contention that he will not offer his son a pardon or commute his sentence?
The same thing I made of President Biden's claim that he had nothing to do with Hunter's business associates when there was, immense evidence that that wasn't true. And the same thing I make of President Biden's insistence that, unless the Lord Almighty himself came down and told him not to run, he was running for president. Turned out he was running until he wasn't.
Some of what's coming back now that they're back in court. Lowell has been speaking a short time ago, and he says that the jurors are waiting and they're probably infected. Public interest indicates that $3.8 million on the Hunter Biden cases. What do you think about that? That this prospective jury pool could be infected by watching this proceeding today or being privy to it?
There's a whole lot of stuff that could infect a jury in a high-profile case like this. And the way that you normally cure that in the system is by questioning the jurors. You don't have to make sure they don't know anything, but you have to make sure that whatever they know, they can be fair and impartial. That's what they need to satisfy the court.
All right. Andy, thank you very much.
Thanks, Martha.
Andy McCarthy watching this, and we'll continue to bring you the latest headlines as we get them. And as Carrie Kupek told us earlier, she said the Department of Justice is not going to, probably didn't know about this Alford plea plan, and they're probably not going to be okay with it because they have been raked over the coals in their treatment of this case from the beginning, and now they were about to actually get to trial after this long road of plea agreement that fell apart, and then trying to, gear back up and say we are serious about going after Hunter Biden. So we'll keep you posted as we get more developments here. So President Biden kicking off remarks in battleground Wisconsin over in Los Angeles. His son's tax trial that we've been covering throughout the day has taken quite a turn as he has said that he is preparing to plead guilty. We're told that the indictment is being read in court right now. So let's bring in Sean Duffy, co-host of The Bottom Line on Fox Business and a former Republican Wisconsin congressman, and Patrick Murphy, former Pennsylvania Democratic congressman, Iraq War veteran, and former Army Undersecretary. Gentlemen, always good to have you with us. Thank you very much for being here. Patrick, let me start with you just on what we heard from Andy McCarthy and this idea that lots of people seem to think that Biden will bend and that he will commute the sentence or outright pardon Hunter Biden.
Listen, it remains to be seen. I mean, if there's a guilty plea done, I don't think they'll commute the sentence. And Sean and I both tried cases as prosecutors in the past, and you do these plea deals right before a trial. This is when the pucker factor goes up. He paid his taxes. He committed a crime. He's trying to plead guilty. We'll see how it pans out. But I think all Americans are tired. I mean, they want the rule of law to be enforced, whether it's a Democrat or Republican, breaking the law.
This was not a plea deal, though. This was Hunter Biden coming into court and actually saying, I'm going to plead guilty. Let's now talk about what we do and where we go from here. I'd say, of course, Hunter Biden made this decision because he knows his father is going to pardon him and therefore commute any sentence that will be given by this court.
Yeah, it seems that the timing is interesting.
Yes.
Right before, this will be likely during the window that his father will, obviously not running for president, lame duck, as we call it, and a time when we tend to see a lot of pardons. It would be pretty interesting to see Biden come forward with his list of pardons at the end and have him not be on the list. But maybe he's finally decided that he wants to teach him a lesson. You know what? You're gonna go spend some time in jail. So we'll see. Let's put up the CNN polls that show the battleground states as we sort of watch these candidates crisscross the country and spend quite a bit of time in Pennsylvania. And interesting articles today sort of pointing to the fact, Patrick, Nate Silver says, Democrats haven't been able to find that second gear. There was a surge of enthusiasm, but it seems to be sort of flattening out a bit. No post-convention bump for Kamala Harris. And pollsters see Harris weak in Pennsylvania. Some saying that she's not going to win there, despite the fact that the numbers show her as very close. Is she having trouble finding a second gear?
I don't think so. I was just in Pittsburgh yesterday. We had our first ever VetCon, Veteran Conference. And Tim Walz was in Lancaster first, and then he was out in Pittsburgh as well. You're seeing on the ground that people are enthused. In fact, they just opened up 2 campaign offices in Lebanon County. I used to work at the Hershey factory at making Kit Kat bars and stuff like that, right?
I know it well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. But I don't work for them anymore, so I'm not on the payroll anymore. But the bottom line is, there's no chance that Democrats are going to win Lebanon County. But the fact that they're competing there to keep the Republican margin down and they're having these field offices all over, I disagree with you. And in the Pentagon, when I helped lead the Army, we had this saying, Martha, amateurs talk strategy, experts talk logistics. Logistics is that ground game. Sean and I both won in competitive races in the past. You need the ground game. You need the air game, of course, so people know who you are when you're knocking the doors, and you're at the bus stops and all that stuff. But the ground game, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, they got it going in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, this is a question that I ask everybody because I'm fascinated by it. We saw that Democrats had a very good ground game in 2020. Sean,
they did.
Are you convinced that anything has changed for the GOP in terms of getting out the vote and getting early voters invigorated?
That is a great question. So I know the Trump campaign, and there's some states he does well, and some states he doesn't do as well in the ground game on. Pennsylvania is where Trump has a remarkable ground game also. But I think we're looking at the polls, Martha, and those of us who live and breathe politics, we know what's happening and we follow this. But the undecided voter, they've been with their kids all summer. They've been at the beach. They've been barbecuing. It's really after Labor Day when they start to pay attention. And we come past Labor Day into September, we have a debate. And you're going to see undecided voters make a decision. And I think Kamala Harris is in trouble in that she doesn't have enough respect for the voters to go, hey, this is my plan to make this country better. We don't have 1.5% inflation. We don't have world peace. We don't have a great economy. How are you going to make this different than what we had under Joe Biden? That's going to be the mission that she's not willing to take because she won't do interviews.
Well, we'll see. Obviously, Tuesday night's going to be huge for both of them. I thought the CNN poll was very interesting. It said that 13 to 15% could change their mind, which I find very interesting.
Yeah,
and in Pennsylvania, sticking with Pennsylvania for a moment, the Senate race is tightening in Pennsylvania, too.
Yeah. And it's going to be nip and tuck. I mean, you have Bob Casey out there, who's been our senator, versus Dave McCormick, who, until recently lived in Connecticut. So It's going to be nip and tuck, but I do think
Come on.
He did. That's his kids went to high school. They just graduated like they did. I mean, come
Went
on.
to high school in Pennsylvania.
He just called a Wawa drink a Big Gulp, which is a 7-Eleven. I mean, like he called Yangling or something. I mean, come on. He's been gone for a couple decades. Listen, God bless him for making money in China. But
Black and Hispanics are trending towards Trump in Pennsylvania. That's a big deal. It's going to be different than 2020.
He sounds a little worried.
He does.
No, listen, it's going to be nip and tuck. I mean, it's going to be.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, you guys. Always great to have you both here. So that's the story for today. A busy Thursday. We'll see you as the story goes on. I will be back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Have a great evening, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, we'll take it from there with this Fox News alert topping a brand new hour. We continue to watch Hunter Biden in court today after that stunning reversal and offer to plead guilty with a twist because it would be without admitting any wrongdoing. Still, a lot to unpack and unfold, and we are on it. But first, ahead of the first face-off, who has the plan to tackle the high costs facing Americans? Former President Donald Trump and VP Kamala Harris detailing their plans this week, and in fresh remarks today, former President Donald Trump says it starts with unleashing energy production. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith in for Neil Cavuto, and this is Your World. We've got Fox team coverage with Alexis McAdams. She is in New York on Trump's efforts to rev things up. Brian Yennis is in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where Harris is hunkering down. But first, let's go to Charlie Gasparino on how the economic battle between Trump and Harris is shaping up. And, by the way, Republican New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu on that first face-off. That is all coming up, I should say. But first, let's get to Alexis McAdams with the news. She's here in New York for us. Hello, Alexis.
Hello, Sandra. Yeah, you could hear today when former President Trump got up on that stage to speak here in New York City. It was a different vibe than we're used to. Most of the time when we cover the former president, right, he's at a Trump rally talking with a huge crowd of supporters. This was a little bit different. People, were seated having a lunch, and he went through pretty much a layout of all of his policies, focusing on the economy because that's the top issue for voters no matter where you go and who you talk to. They talk about paying more at the pump and more at the grocery store. He says Kamala Harris is going to take money out of your pocket and he'll put it back in. Watch.
I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government. And Elon, because he's not very busy, has agreed to head that task force.
And so he's talking about an idea that he took from Elon Musk's playbook, Sandra, to audit the federal government, launching that task force and that commission. So that's brand new coming out today. Trump says when it comes to running the country, hey, he handles things like he would run his own business. What's best for the people, what makes the most money, and overall what policies will make this country stronger. We checked in with American billionaire and hedge fund manager John Paulson today at the event. I asked him for his take on the America First economic plan. What is it about Kamala Harris's plan that you think would be bad for America?
Yeah, I think generally higher taxes and more government spending leads to lower growth. Low taxes, less government, and empowering the private sector leads for greater wealth for everybody.
And as Trump outlined that tax plan and his aim to lower the corporate tax rate, Vice President Kamala Harris planning to offer small businesses tax breaks.
We will provide low and no interest loans to small businesses that want to expand, and we will, and this is very important, cut the red tape that can make starting and growing a small business more difficult than it needs to be. More difficult than it needs to be.
And once former President Trump wrapped up there in New York for that luncheon, Sandra, they did mention they would love to hear from Vice President Kamala Harris about her economic plan. They offered to have her come and speak about that. So we'll see what happens next. Sandra.
Yeah. Voters need details when it comes to how you're going to bring those prices down because people, they've had enough of inflation. Alexis, thank you. All right. Meanwhile, VP Kamala Harris hunkering down in Pittsburgh this hour ahead of the ABC presidential debate happening Tuesday night, simulcasting on Fox. Brian Yennis is in Pittsburgh. He's got the latest from there for us. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Sandra. Well, Vice President Kamala Harris landed here in Pittsburgh this afternoon. She will now spend the next 5 days here in Pennsylvania preparing for Tuesday night's big debate hosted in Philadelphia. Now, according to ABC News, the host of this debate, both campaigns, Harris and Trump, have agreed to the debate rules, which include rules that stipulate that this debate will be 90 minutes. There will be no live audience, and this is probably the biggest sticking point. Candidate microphones will be muted when the other is speaking. After publicly lobbying for the mics to be unmuted, Harris advisors, seemingly frustrated, sent a letter to ABC News arguing that the VP will now be, quote, fundamentally disadvantaged by this format, which will serve to shield Donald Trump from direct exchanges with the vice president. According to Politico, muted mics may now lead to an overhaul of Harris's debate prep strategy, which is said to be focused on how to get under Trump's skin. The Harris campaign is now lowering expectations for Harris's performance on Tuesday.
His handlers worked really hard to make sure that those mics stay muted to put him in a better position to be successful. I mean, this is his 7th general election presidential debate, probably the most of anybody in history. And Donald Trump's a showman, so we know he's going to come in ready to debate.
The Trump campaign says both campaigns had already agreed to follow the same rules as the last debate featuring President Biden. In a statement mocking a phrase that Harris has made popular, the Trump campaign wrote this: Americans want to hear both candidates present their competing visions to the voters unburdened by what has been. No notes, no sitting down, no advanced copies of the questions. Today, running mate Tim Walz will finish his 2-day swing of Pennsylvania with a campaign visit in Erie. That is just one of 2 counties that turned from Trump to Biden in 2020 here in the Commonwealth. The polls here, Sandra, have this race neck and neck, a real toss-up. Sandra?
All right, Brian Yennis, live in Pittsburgh for us. Thank you very much, Brian. And as we get more information about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris's dueling economic plans this week, the devil is in the details. Fox Business's Charlie Gasparino is here to help sort it all out for us. Hanging out outside Cipriani, his new book is entitled Go Woke, Go Broke. I know that's one of your hangouts, Charlie, so you'll have to be dodging your fans as you deliver your report there. But I know right now people are trying to determine what's different between these 2 plans and who's winning with the voters with their messaging.
Well, here in front of Cipriani's is where Donald Trump spoke today before the Economic Club in New York. And I will tell you this. He laid out not just a detailed explanation of what he wants to do on taxes, regulation, fracking, the migrant issue. I mean, he made proposals. He laid out in a much more articulate way that even Kamala Harris has her plans, or at least what plans have been leaked. It was remarkable in detail and its substance. And it's what I found fascinating about it is how the Republican candidate knows more or talks more about the Democratic policies. Obviously, it's with his spin. He thinks it's really bad, and he explained why it's really bad. You know, how fracking, if you end fracking, what that's going to do to the Pennsylvania economy. If you raise the corporate income tax, how, money companies are going to sit domicile overseas. How the need for tariffs, that was one of the tougher sell points here, because this is a free market crowd, but I think they bought it. He did that very well on his own, but then he went after her plan. And I'll tell you, if I'm going to game plan the debate on Tuesday, it's going to be heavy on the stuff that he spoke about today. So get the transcript. It's going to be taxes, regulations. Here's what I'm going to do. What are you going to do? Explain. He's going to try to, I guarantee he tries to flip the switch and try to get her to explain exactly what she wants to do, which she hasn't yet. I mean, nobody has forced her to. During that CNN interview, and Dana Bash is a very accomplished journalist. I like her. I've been following her for years. But I mean, on the economic stuff, you really have to she should have pressed her on exactly what she means, aside from some of the money that she just wants to throw at people.
You tell me, but
it's also interesting how
a winning economic message is always one that creates a business-friendly environment in this country, right? People are hungry for that. Anybody who runs a small business, anybody who's just trying to feed their family, and they want to see those prices come down, they're listening for the details in the messaging. And it seems on Kamala Harris's part, Charlie, she seems to be, and her team, doubling down on this message of we're going to go after the big corporations. We're gonna tackle price gouging, even though there's not a lot of evidence that exists.
Yeah, I will say this. By the way, we got an ambulance coming by, as you can tell. I will say this: the problem with Kamala Harris so far, and this is, I don't know if the voters are appreciating this as much. You know, you get the feeling she doesn't understand these basic issues. When you listen to Donald Trump, you know, love him or hate him, you might hate his Twitter feed, you might hate some of the things he's done and said in the past. He does have a grasp of these basic economic issues that impact average Americans. He articulates those. He talks about, I mean, I don't agree with all his tariff policies, but he explained, you know, what he's going to do with tariffs, how he's going to try to create a fairer trade environment. But he said it in very detailed ways. You know, if Kamala Harris doesn't provide those details, you almost have to assume she doesn't understand the details. And if you're in the voting booth and you know that we have a looming possible recession, we still have very high prices. He laid out exactly how high prices are now compared to where they were when he was president. There's a lot at stake on top of, you know, global conflict and other things. You know, energy prices, how to get those down, dramatically down. They're still too high. You know, he provides detail. She doesn't. If you're in the voting booth, I think at some point the American people are going to say, if she doesn't deliver on something, they're going to say, what am I voting for? I mean, even if you like her, you might like her better than Donald Trump, but does she know anything? This is a conversation I keep having with Mark Cuban, by the way, the tech billionaire, and he can't really explain to me what she stands for. He says it's a work in progress, and I can't expect her to essentially know anything now because she just got the nomination. But
I'm going to play the
she's
role
been vice
of Neil.
president for 4 years.
I'm going to play the role of Neil here. You name dropper, you Charlie. All your wealthy friends. No, it's very interesting. There has been a lack of detail provided on the Kamala Harris campaign. They certainly have obviously have heard that feedback, and they're starting to offer some more. It's how the voters reacting to it is the question. Charlie, thank you.
Yep.
And you made
Anytime.
You made it through that ambulance. Thank you very much. All right, so Harris made her economic pitch in New Hampshire. A sign the state is still in play for either side. That is the question to Republican New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu. Governor, good to see you. It's been a little while since you and I have caught up. So you'll have to tell me where you stand on things. Whose plan are you liking, and what really speaks to you in your state? What will work with voters there?
So again, when we talk about the voters, we're talking about that 8 to 10% of swing voters, right? Those are the ones that are still up for play and probably will be through October. It's not the economy, it's cost of living. And those voters are going to be swayed by who is the change agent, right? Who is the individual? Is it Kamala Harris or is it Donald Trump that'll be an agent of change to make my life more affordable? It's not about the number of jobs that are created. People have jobs. They just want things to be affordable again, and that's it. And between now and November 5th, the rent comes due, right, on the 1st. The credit card bills keep coming in. The energy bills the electric bills keep coming in. There's a lot of costs American families are going to have, and that's the anxiety, right? Anxiety is what drives someone to go to the voting booth and ask for change. And Americans still have a lot of anxiety, especially with an impending recession, which is very real. And there's no question Donald Trump is always going to be more trusted as someone that's been on the front lines in business, can actually speak to details. Through all the personality challenges that a lot of us know and accept that he has, it's results that people want. Only new results are going to bring the change to kind of lower the temperature in their families and give them more economic freedom. And that's what it's about, not the global economy at 30,000 feet. You can talk about tariffs and all that kind of stuff. It's just going to make my life more affordable.
Yeah. President Donald Trump, at his point earlier, he laid out a very detailed message today, not just about his own economic plan, but about Kamala Harris's, in fact, about what we've heard so far and what has been leaked so far. So in state, Kamala Harris, during this campaign stop this week, Governor, she laid out this plan to expand the tax incentives for small businesses, okay? This would appear to be a pro-entrepreneurial plan, and does it show that she's softening sort of these attacks on wealthy Americans and big corporations that they need to pay their fair share, that they need to pay more, Governor? Does it appear she's sort of walking back that right now?
Oh, she's walking it back. Again, I think everyone's right. I don't think she understands a lot of this when it comes to the economy, how things work, what a lot of the things that her team has proposed. You know, when she came out aggressively and said price controls, that scared everybody. because actually that plays into the hands of large businesses. That destroys young businesses, startups, entrepreneurship, folks that want to compete in bigger markets. That absolutely crushes that. And that's what she proposed, and that's what she stands by. And so she's having to pivot purely for political reasons, not for anything else. Now, at the end of the day, what she's proposing, it sounds fine. It's more moderate, but that's not going to change people's minds. The fact is she's been there. She's been the agent of this large inflationary surge that has crushed families, and she can't get away from that as much as she's going to want to try over the next 60 days. The honeymoon's over, right? August was a great honeymoon period for Kamala Harris, but guess what? You're home, you're back to work, and people are demanding accountability. Able to have it. I think the debate, as we all agree, is going to be absolutely pivotal. Not just who has the better plan, but who comes off as more competent, who can kind of hold their own, show the professionalism, show a sense of leadership for the country. My sense is they are scared, right, because they don't let her talk to the press, that she's going to get into these circuit arguments of gobbledygook and God knows what she's going to say. I think her team has done her a massive disservice, right? You get better at a debate, you get better at asking questions when you interact with the press, when you get the feedback, when you feel more confident on your toes.
Too,
but her team has effectively told her.
Yeah, no. And perhaps that would help her with her understanding of all this, right? If she had to answer those tough questions, let me get back to you on that. Where do you think we need to be on that? So, Governor, I'm thinking perhaps there's news to be made here. I mean, based on everything you're saying, and I look back at the history of your state, going back to 2000 and the last time a Republican won that state, can Donald Trump pull off victory there based on what you're saying?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Remember, Trump only lost New Hampshire by 2,000 votes in 2016, and this election is going to look a lot more like that one. A great Republican Trump down the ballot, so you're going to get a strong turnout on the Republican side. The Democrat candidates statewide are awful. Nobody's excited about Kamala. I mean, nobody is. They're kind of tolerating it. But at the end of the day, this is a state where results matter. Government has to deliver, or we get you out of there. I mean, there's real accountability in the system, and she hasn't delivered.
Do you believe that he can pull off a wider margin of victory even than he lost by that you're describing there?
Oh, yeah. No, he could. I mean, it'll be close. It's always close, but it'll be within 1 or 2%. But yeah, my guess is he wins by 1.5%. Yeah.
Okay. So about cost of living, not necessarily the broader economy, but cost of living.
That's right.
That's what's important to voters there.
That's right.
Governor, good to catch up. Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
All right. A stunning reversal as Hunter Biden asked to change his plea to guilty in his tax case. Our Jonathan Hunt is outside the L.A. courthouse. He's following it for us. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Sandra. Hunter Biden changes his plea to guilty while at the same time maintaining his innocence. Confused? You should be. Will we explain it after the break? Of course we will. We'll be right back.
For a limited time, Subway just dropped the price of every footlong in the app to $6.99. Wait, Subway did what? $6.99 footlongs? Yep, says right here, $6.99 for any footlong. Get this deal in the Subway app now before it's too late.
The Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic automatically responds to snoring, so no more hiding under your pillow because this system actually detects snoring, then adjusts to help reduce it. Don't miss our biggest sale of the year with savings up to $700 on select adjustable mattress sets.
When the sawdust settles and the engine roars, the thing you care about is a job well done. But when you get your tools from Harbor Freight, something about the job feels different. Your wallet. Whatever you do it for less at Harbor Freight.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
You too can feel better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Call or go online now for our 3-week quick start, just $19.95.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
For many of my clients,
selling their life insurance to Abacus was right for them and their estate plan.
Don't sell or lapse your policy without going to abacuspays.com first. There are no fees and no obligations. Get the real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus.
The attempted assassination investigation. From Secret Service stonewalling to whistleblowers' shocking revelations. Jesse has coverage you won't get anywhere else on Prime Time.
Recipes. Recipes written by hand and lost to time are now being analyzed and restored using the power of Dell AI.
Irreversible gender reassignment surgery has nearly tripled. Politician Lucas Kuntz is part of the problem. Kuntz backs the extreme transgender policies, even allowing men to play women's sports, sharing locker rooms. He just can't be our senator.
For a limited time, save up to $700 on select Tempur-Pedic adjustable mattress sets.
You never forget your first Oreo cookie.
All right, to Los Angeles now in the courtroom drama. Hunter Biden planning to change his plea to guilty in his federal tax case. A surprising announcement his attorney made in court just before jury selection for the trial was set to kick off today. What a stunner that was. Jonathan Hutt is outside the courthouse there in LA. He's got the very latest for us. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Sandra, it really has been a quite extraordinary day. We got our first inkling that it might be at the very least unusual when Hunter Biden arrived here at the courthouse in downtown LA earlier today. In every other hearing in this case, he has been driven into an underground garage by Secret Service. Today, though, they dropped him off curbside and then he walked in very publicly, holding hands with his wife, Melissa, flanked by Secret Service agents, and followed into court by one of his lead attorneys, Abby Lowell. It was Lowell who then dropped the bombshell in court that Biden wanted to change his plea to guilty, but it's what is called an Alford plea, whereby he admits that the government could prove its case, he could be convicted by a jury, but yet he maintains his innocence. It's unusual, but not unheard of. The government objected to that and said they would not accept that. The judge then said he did not need the government's approval for the court to accept it. So then we went on a 2-hour break, and since then all sides have been back in the court. There is some argument about whether Hunter Biden would have to admit to every facet of the government's case against him. The government has been reading the entire indictment. It's a 56-page indictment, so it's been taking a while, and Judge Scarzi has now referred to it as what he has called an open plea and said that if Mr. Biden does admit to all of the charges that the government lays out, then the court, in his words, would be willing to accept an open plea. So we could be just moments from this case being settled, Sandra. I say we could be because we have seen so many twists, so many turns throughout Hunter Biden's legal issues that nobody would bet on anything right now. But clearly we are moving towards some very significant decision from Judge Scarzi at the moment, Sandra.
All right, so you expect something could come out of the courthouse in the next few minutes, next couple hours, Jonathan?
Next few minutes, next couple of hours, next 24 hours, I am not in the business of predicting anything the way that this case has gone. But the indications we're getting right now, in all seriousness, Sandra, are that the judge is prepared to make a ruling. Now, whether he says at the end of this session today, let me sleep on it, let me think about it overnight, let everybody come back here tomorrow, I don't know. But it could be at any moment in reality.
With this case, we've learned to expect the unexpected. Jonathan, thank you very much.
For sure.
All right, so keep us posted, and we may get some news from there shortly. Meanwhile, a lot of drama, of course, and now a lot of questions. So what does happen from here? Attorneys Katie Cherkasky and Tom Dupree will join me next.
There are many ways to do things. At Old Dominion Freight Line, we do them this way. This way has people who start early, people who care and inspire each other to do things the way they should be done. This way uses technology and goes the extra mile to deliver your promises on time, every time. This way is why we're the #1 national LTL carrier for quality. For us, this way is the right way, which is why it's the only way we go.
This is our future, Ma. GoDaddy Aero creates a logo, website, even social posts in minutes.
How?
AI.
AI like it. Who wants to come see the future?
Get your business online in minutes with GoDaddy Aero.
If you have chronic kidney disease, you can reduce the risk of kidney failure with Farxiga, because there are places you'd like to be. Farxiga can cause serious side effects, including ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration, urinary tract or genital yeast infections, and low blood sugar. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop taking Farxiga and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, an allergic reaction, or ketoacidosis.
Is your shower trying to tell you something? Is getting in and out of the bathtub becoming a safety concern? Are you worried about the cost of a bathroom remodel that could go on for weeks and weeks? Well, now you can have a gorgeous new bath or shower that's safer at a price you can afford with a one-day jacuzzi bath remodel.
It was done the same day. We did not have to wait. It is amazing.
I would give this whole experience an A+. I definitely wish I would have called sooner.
From soft close shower doors and adjustable shower heads to features like grab bars and custom seats that combine safety and style, it's never been easier. Get your free design consultation, schedule your one-day installation, and start loving your new bath or shower right away.
Only weeks left to get waived installation and no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-991-2603. That's 800-991-2603. Call now.
At Biz2 Credit, we know you need to fund your business on time. When business is good, it could be time to expand.
Time for Biz2 Credit.
When bills are piling up, you might need extra cash to get ahead.
Time for Biz2 Credit.
Our fast and convenient online process makes it easy to get the funding you need. When it's time to take your business to new heights, Biz2 Credit makes it possible. Go to biz2credit.com/time or call 800-200-2891. Biz2 Credit, funding what's next.
Lumino Whitening Toothpaste gives you 3 benefits in one toothpaste. Healthy enamel, healthy gums, and white teeth. This is my #1 hack for healthier and brighter teeth and gums. Best toothpaste ever. Find Lumino Toothpaste at a Walmart and Target.
All right, a quick look at the corner of Wall and Broad. Stocks dropping on new worries over a possible economic slowdown. Big August jobs report due out tomorrow morning. We'll be watching for that. Back in 60 seconds.
Welcome to Stormy Heights, where the windows are always Pella. Pella's fiberglass is the strongest material for windows and patio doors. The fiberglass frame is even scratch and dent resistant. Pella Windows.
Save on replacement windows by Pella now.
You'll love this. Centrum Silver is clinically proven to support memory in older adults. So you can keep saying, you mastered it. You fixed it. You nailed it. You did it with Centrum Silver, clinically proven to support memory in older adults.
What the biggest companies deliver is exceptional customer experience. What makes it possible is unmatched connectivity and 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business. T-Mobile connects 100,000 Delta Airlines employees, powers Tractor Supply stores nationwide with reliable 5G business internet, and helps Red Bull revolutionize coverage of live events. This is how business goes further with T-Mobile for Business.
All right, it has been a breaking news day when Hunter Biden offered to change his plea to guilty in his federal tax case. It happened at the Los Angeles federal courthouse in a stunner today. So the question now is, what happens next? Let's ask former federal prosecutor and criminal defense attorney Katie Cherkasky. She joins us now. Katie, good to have you here. So prosecutors said that they are opposing Hunter's plea offer in this federal tax case. And by the way, President Biden was asked about this today, and he sort of doubled down on he will not pardon his son. So where do you see this all going next?
Well, it was a very interesting turn of events. Now, from what we understand, Hunter had offered to make an Alford plea, which essentially means that he is not going to factually admit guilt, but that he would concede to being sentenced because a jury could, in fact, find him guilty. The U.S. Attorney's Office is not going to consent to that. They're not even permitted to consent to an Alford plea, but it really is ultimately up to the judge. This is something that might be the start of renewed plea negotiations between them. So perhaps he is willing to find some sort of deal, or he could just plead guilty without any protections whatsoever and then hope that the judge gives him some leniency for taking responsibility.
Did you see this as a Hail Mary?
I don't know that I would call it a Hail Mary. I'm actually surprised that it's so delayed because he is, in fact, from what we know of the evidence, factually guilty. I think the prosecutors have a very strong case here. And from what we saw from his other trial, it was very salacious and embarrassing for the Biden family to go through all of the public trial information that is going to come out here.
For what they're asking for here, they would avoid all that embarrassment and all of that being shown in the courtroom.
They would, and I don't know what Hunter has to gain by going through a litigated trial. Obviously, President Biden has said that he's not going to commute his sentence and he's not going to pardon him. That is not a binding promise. So perhaps there's something that Hunter Biden is hoping happens after the fact that will save him from any consequences from all this. And maybe it's just all smoke and mirrors in the meantime. But for the current purposes, these charges do need to get dealt with, and that means that he has to get involved in a plea deal that is either accepted by the judge, or he could take what we would call a naked plea and just go forward to sentencing and hope that he receives some leniency.
Got it. Also, Katie, I wanted to ask you about former President Donald Trump's election interference case. Judge Tanya Chutkan holding off on setting a trial date, as we know, for this case at a hearing today, most likely meaning it will not happen until after the election. So where does this case go from here, Katie?
Well, that case has a lot of hurdles to get over if it ever makes it to trial because of the immunity decision from the Supreme Court. So essentially what has to happen at this point is that the trial judge has to litigate whether some of those charges or all of those charges can even move forward with the immunity decision that's been put down by the Supreme Court. And even if the judge says, yes, this case can go forward in some or all of the current fashion that it's in, that is an immediately appealable order. So all of the appellate courts have to look at whether the immunity decision by the trial judge is correct. So all that to say, there's no chance that they're getting to a trial date anytime soon. In fact, Judge Chutkan even said that it would be useless to essentially set one at this point because there's so much litigation that has to take place. But I think Jack Smith wants to do a little bit of a mini trial in litigating that immunity issue to lay out the facts for the American people because they're not going to get to the actual trial.
So would you say it characterizes as some good news that was delivered to the former president and the timing of all this today?
Well, the Supreme Court's immunity decision is really the overarching good news that kicked all these cases off the tracks. And certainly, I think the acknowledgement that this case is not going to get scheduled anytime before the election is just the inevitability that came from that.
Very interesting stuff. What a day. Thank you very much, Katie. Good to have you here today.
Thank you.
All right. So coming up, the 14-year-old suspect in that Georgia high school shooting was on the FBI's radar a year ago. We have now learned Steve Harrigan is on the ground with the very latest on what we're learning now. Steve?
That 14-year-old shooter now getting ready for his first court appearance. I'm Steve Harrigan. That story ahead.
My friend, my neighbor, she was going to get shot, but Miss Ernie stood up and took the bullet for her. So, yeah, but, you know, that's very, very strong for her to do.
Love this stuff. I was completely amazed and so grateful. Something finally worked. Now we both use Blue Emu whenever we need relief.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. Lucky for you, Shopify built with just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. Businesses that want to win, win with Shopify.
Hi, I'm Donna, and I love taking Balance of Nature. It makes me feel sparkly every single day. It's just an amazing product.
Get 35% off your first set when you use discount code FOXNews.
In the furniture business, things move fast. ZipRecruiter helps us hire qualified candidates who can keep up. We needed a project manager yesterday. We posted a job on ZipRecruiter and had our guy on site in 5 days. He was qualified in every way. ZipRecruiter finds the best candidates for all our jobs. They helped us build our dream team, and they did it fast. Is that too fast for you?
4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Fox.
They say seeing is believing, but with Stearns & Foster, that's only part of the story. We handcraft every Stearns & Foster using the finest materials like indulgent memory foam and ultra-conforming IntelliCoils for a beautiful mattress and indescribable comfort every single night. During our Labor Day sale, bring home incredible comfort with savings up to $900 on select adjustable mattress sets. Stearns & Foster, what comfort should be. Learn more at stearnsandfoster.com.
I'm Howie Mandel, the newest ambassador of Skechers. Funny story how I became an ambassador. I went to the store and I lied and said I was an ambassador. Do I get a discount? The owner called me and said, would you like to be an ambassador for Skechers? And I said, yes. Try Skechers slip-ins.
Hi, my name is Damian Clark. And if you have both Medicare and Medicaid, I have some really encouraging news that you'll definitely want to hear. Depending on the plans available in your area, you may be eligible to get extra benefits with the Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. All these plans include a Healthy Options allowance, a monthly allowance to help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items like vitamins, pain relievers, first aid supplies, and more. The Healthy Options allowance is loaded onto a prepaid card each month, and whatever you don't spend carries over from each month. Other benefits on these plans include free rides to and from your medical appointments. You pay nothing for covered prescriptions all year long. All plans have dental coverage, which includes 2 free cleanings a year, fillings, and a yearly exam. They also have vision coverage, including vision exams and a yearly allowance towards eyewear, such as lenses or contacts, and hearing coverage, which includes routine hearing tests and coverage for hearing aids. You'll also have a $0 copay for the shingles and other routine vaccines at in-network retail pharmacies. Plus, your doctor, hospital, and pharmacy may already be part of our large Humana networks. So call the number on your screen now to speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. Wouldn't you love benefits like a monthly allowance? To help pay for eligible groceries, utilities, rent, and over-the-counter items. So if you have Medicare and Medicaid, call the number on your screen now and speak with a licensed Humana sales agent. If you're eligible, they can even help enroll you over the phone in a Humana Medicare Advantage Dual Eligible Special Needs Plan. So call now. Humana, a more human way to healthcare.
My wife Jill and I are mourning those 4 gunned down two students and 2 teachers, and wounded and hospitalized 9 others. I'm sure you are as well. You know, students, just young teenagers, educators, just doing their jobs. I directed my team to immediately ensure that we're doing everything we can to provide support. The Department of Justice and the FBI are working closely with the state and local law enforcement investigating this.
President Biden addressing the Georgia high school shooting earlier during remarks in Wisconsin. This says we are learning the 14-year-old suspect was on the FBI's radar last year. In a moment, what former FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell makes of that. But first, the very latest on all of it. Fox News' Steve Harrigan is reporting from Winder, Georgia for us at this hour. Steve?
Sandra, that 14-year-old suspected shooter has already now been charged with 4 counts of felony murder. He's about 30 miles away from here in a youth detention center, although he will be tried as an adult. So he's going to really face the full threat of the law here in Georgia. He's going to make his first court appearance virtually at 8:30 tomorrow morning. We are learning more about what went on during the shooting, including some real acts of bravery.
My friend, my neighbor, she was going to get shot, but Miss Ernie stood up and took the bullet for her. So yeah, but you know, that's very, very strong for her to do.
As you mentioned, that suspect 15 months ago was interviewed by local law enforcement officials. He was interviewed, as was his father. This in regards to a posting online about shooting up a middle school. Now, there was not enough evidence to take any action. He was not arrested at the time. The school now behind me is closed. The football game tomorrow night canceled as well. Canceled. In addition, one of those 4 people shot and killed was not only a math teacher, but also the defensive coach for the football team. Sandra, back to you.
Just terribly tragic and sad all around. Steve, thank you very much in Winder, Georgia for us. So if the shooting suspect was on the FBI's radar, could this tragedy have been prevented? Retired FBI Special Agent Maureen O'Connell joins us now. Maureen, it seems, and I'm sure viewers at home feel like this, we ask ourselves that all too often. We learn that the shooter was somehow on the FBI's radar. So could this have been caught earlier?
Well, when you consider what happened, this tip or lead, this anonymous tip or lead, which I actually wish wasn't anonymous in case the law enforcement entity needed to go back and get further information, you know, like if they were trying to write a warrant or something. It came into an FBI, either to the FBI headquarters or on our website, fbi.gov, submit a tip or lead, or perhaps one of the 80 fusion centers throughout the country. The tip would then come in, and then from there they would work it up, and they had to trace this IP, and they traced the IP back to this person's house. The police officer gave that information to the sheriff's department, who went to visit this person. I have no doubt that those sheriff deputies worked hard with the family to determine, does he have access to these weapons? Does he, you know, can he get into the safe? How are these weapons that the father has stored, et cetera? I don't, you know, I just don't see them walking away from that unless they really felt it was, you know, that there was absolutely nothing else they could do. That being said, we have not yet seen any of the threats that were presented yet. So I would like to read those threats. I would like to see what they were. I would like to see what they were up against. What exactly was the statement that the father made to law enforcement? Did he say, I have a safe, my son doesn't have the combo, he never gets to touch these weapons unless I take him shooting? Things along those lines. But there's you know, obviously it could have been helped in some way, shape, or form, or we wouldn't be here having this conversation.
Yeah, we hear you on that. This teenager was interviewed May 2023. An investigator at that time received a tip on the boy. Had possibly threatened to shoot up a middle school tomorrow. The teen was asked about the threat. The sheriff's investigator, he said to him he would never say such a thing, even in a joking matter. I mean, this is all according to these reports and the exact words that were exchanged at that time. So I guess when things like this fall in front of the FBI, are we learning from this? I mean, do we have enough resources to go after all these tips and leads and threats?
Well, it's no secret that, you know, I think the number is close to 1.5 million of these type of tips come into the FBI in some way, shape, or form, as I described earlier, per year. It's no secret that we are this country is in a very bad position when it comes to people doing IT jobs and people being able to trace down these type of cases. For example, I worked a case in my private company that I have now where a prominent person was being stalked like you can't believe. We tried to trace down that IP address. It took my team of highly skilled IT professionals it took them a month to find out who this person was, and this person was in 8th grade in Wisconsin. I mean, the work involved in this type of thing and the level of skill is just unmatched. We have all the countries that are not our friends right now, they have just warehouses full of people doing IT things for hacking and everything else. We are way behind the 8 ball. We're underfunded and we're seriously understaffed. And local law enforcement does not have the capabilities that the FBI has, so they rely on the FBI in a lot of these instances.
And this suspect will be tried as an adult, appearing in court tomorrow. Maureen, final thought on what you expect as these proceedings begin tomorrow.
Well, I think he's going to get hammered, and I think it's hammer time.
Yeah. Maureen, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, well, President Biden in Wisconsin this hour touting Vice President Kamala Harris. But does his presence on the trail help or hurt her? But first, after the crackdown on Russia for election meddling, what about the threat from Iran? To Fox News' Jillian Turner at the State Department on what she is hearing. That seemed to be sort of absent in the AG's speech the other day, what they're doing about it.
It was, Sandra. So they are, the DOJ, taking this action against Russia for trying to meddle in the presidential election. But the Iranian regime has been up to the very same thing for almost as long. So is DOJ going to take action against Iran? We got new details for you coming up.
In our family, there was a passion for glassmaking that's passed down through the generations.
On Ancestry, I was able to actually put together our family tree. Each person is a glassworker.
We stood on some pretty broad shoulders to get to where we're at today.
Innovation in healthcare means nothing if no one can afford it. At Evernorth, we're helping to unlock barriers. Using our 35-plus years of pharmacy benefits management experience to save businesses billions while boosting medication adherence. Helping plan sponsors and their members be at their best. That's wonder made possible. Evernorth Health Services.
Tommy Copper's got your back with back support built right into your shirt so that you can feel your best every day. Live comfortably and get the most out of life. Pain is no match for Tommy Copper compression shirts.
Cut! Perfect! We go again!
Upgrade your shirt and fight back pain. Go to TommyCopper.com and buy one, get one free today.
You need this. Trust me.
1 second, you feel safe. And then,
The police are on their way.
well, you still do.
Lowe's knows few things are as rewarding as making a great assist.
Right, Leo?
Claro que sí.
Cool as a cucumber.
Tonight on the Ingram Angle, another Democrat jump ship, this time in California. She's here with a warning for her old party. Tonight on the Angle.
Donate plasma today and receive up to $700 your first month. CSL Plasma. Do the amazing.
Irreversible gender reassignment surgery has nearly tripled. Politician Lucas Kuntz is part of the problem. Kuntz backs the extreme transgender policies, even allowing men to play women's sports, sharing locker rooms. He just can't be our senator.
Custom framing is preserving what's important to the customer, but doing it in a creative way.
Chevy Equinox EV starting at $34,995. Go EV without changing a thing. Chevrolet.
An update to a story we brought you a moment ago. The D.C. judge in the Trump case officially will not hold trial before the November 5th election. The order that she just posted asks for replies and paperwork after Election Day. So while this was expected, from what we now see, it is official. And that's the update. All right, and now this, the Biden administration cracking down on Russia over new accusations of election meddling. But it's not the only foreign adversary acting up. First to Fox News, Jillian Turner. She's live at the State Department for us. So what are we hearing, Jillian?
So, Sandra, the Justice Department is taking action against the against the Russian regime, accusing them of trying to meddle in the U.S. election. But the Attorney General is also dinging the Iranian regime, saying they are up to the same thing and they are pushing for their clear candidate of choice. It's not former President Trump.
We have observed increasingly aggressive Iranian activity during this election cycle. That includes recently reported activities by Iran to compromise former President Trump's campaign and to avoid an election outcome that it regards as against its interests.
Former President Trump last night insisted to Sean Hannity his strategy for Iran is mostly more financial pressure. Listen.
Iran was broke. They didn't have the money for Hamas and for Hezbollah. They didn't have the money for anybody. They wanted to get by. And we would have made a fair deal with them. I was only looking to make a fair deal with them.
In light of the Biden administration's accusations that Iran is now trying to hack both the Trump and Harris campaigns, the big question is whether they will actually follow through with legal action.
They get that we can keep trying to take Trump out and have no consequences. They tried to hack his campaign, or did hack his campaign this week. They're trying to kill him.
So in July, the intelligence community revealed that Iranian government officials were trying to actually infiltrate American protests over the war in Gaza. They posed as activists trying to encourage the protests and even funded a whole lot of anti-Israel groups active here in Washington, D.C. Sandra, the other big foreign policy question leading up to November now is whether there's any more interest in some kind of a renewed Iran nuclear deal. The Biden administration is not pursuing that. We reached out to the Harris campaign. They also tell us their priority is focused elsewhere. No real interest in trying to reignite that deal. So if what former President Trump said last night is indeed what he plans to pursue, he may be the only future presidential candidate interested in getting some kind of a deal back on the table. Sandra?
All right, Jillian, with that update from the State Department for us, Jillian Turner, thank you. All right, well, the rules for Tuesday night's presidential debate are now out as the crucial face-off is about to set in. Which side has the advantage? We debate, you decide.
Donald Trump and Kamala Harris face off.
I know Donald Trump's type.
We have to put our country back into shape.
For the first debate, more Americans turn to Fox News Media than any other news network. Now, watch the ABC News presidential debate on Fox News. Watch special Democracy 24 pre- and post-coverage. Plus, Sean Hannity from the Spin Room. The ABC News presidential debate on Fox News. America is watching. Are you?
You know what's crazy?
That this is better than cooking at home? I mean, more affordable than groceries.
Of course.
Good.
Groceries are expensive.
Thought I was in trouble there for a sec.
Oh, you are.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Yeah. Anyway, still $15 a month, so whenever you're ready. Sorry about all that production value.
Check it out, okay?
Great DraftKings offer and NFL Plus. I feel like I just scored.
Best touchdown dances of all time.
Probably don't even know about this. This old school right here.
Oh, you want old school?
I see what you're doing.
Oh, you don't see nothing. You don't want this heat.
No, man, that ain't heat. I'm hit you with this right here. Get nasty on it. Touchdown. I didn't know that was gonna break.
Get out.
Respect.
With DraftKings, new customers bet $5 to get $250 instantly in bonus bets and a month of NFL Plus Premium. The crown is yours.
This is the Ergo Smart Base from Tempur-Pedic, and it responds to snoring so you don't have to. So no more nudging your partner. or sleeping on the other side of the house. Because the Tempur-Ergo Smart Base actually detects snoring, then automatically adjusts to help reduce it. All night, every night. Don't miss our biggest sale of the year with savings up to $700 on select adjustable mattress sets and experience the deep, undisturbed rest of Tempur-Pedic. Learn more at TempurPedic.com.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
You too can feel better every day with Relief Factor, a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Call or go online now for our 3-week quick start, just $19.95.
Falls are the #1 cause of injury to senior citizens. Acorn Stair Lifts has the solution. Just don't fall. Sit, relax, ride with an Acorn Stair Lift, the world's leader in stair lifts. Don't let limited mobility keep you from going up and down your stairs, even outside. Call Acorn Stair Lifts now for a free information kit and no obligation quote. Why risk falling when you can safely ride?
Our Acorn Stair Lift is definitely more affordable than moving.
The Acorn Stair Lift has a padded seat and backrest. Safety sensors stop the chair if there are obstacles. The seat swivels and locks so you don't twist your body. And the Acorn Stair Lift folds away. It even runs during power outages.
I was really surprised at how little it cost.
Call 1-800-709-4205 right now for your free information kit or visit our website today. That's 1-800-709-4205.
We're reporting here on the ground about the reality of the situation.
President Biden wants a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza.
Jewish students tell me they don't feel safe still.
Fox News reports.
President Joe Biden just delivering economic remarks in Wisconsin while touting VP Harris, and it all comes amid the plea drama unfolding with his son Hunter this hour. So, does Biden's presence out on the trail help or hurt Harris? Let's get the read from Bob Cusack, editor-in-chief at The Hill. Hopefully you can answer that question for us.
Hey, Sandra, listen, I don't think it helps. Joe Biden, there's a reason why Nancy Pelosi and others pushed Biden out of the race. His numbers have been poor. Kamala Harris does not want to talk about Bidenomics. She wants to talk about her own brand. So, no, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Joe Biden on the trail. I think to some extent you can't totally exclude him, but you're not going to see a lot of them down the stretch.
All right, so former President Donald Trump made his case today on the economy. He seems to keep winning on this issue when polled. Who better can handle the economy? It does go to Trump still. He laid out his plan. Kamala Harris has been pretty vague on details on her economic policies, but she started to lay them out in more detail. Who has the edge on this issue?
Trump definitely has the edge. Now, Harris is doing better than Biden. For sure, both on the economy and immigration, and has cut into the Trump lead. And honestly, that's probably the best she's going to do on those two issues. She has abortion and maybe a couple other issues that she's done well on. But overall, Trump has the advantage on the economy. And honestly, at the debate next week, Trump should really hammer home the economy and put her on the defensive on Bidenomics.
All right. So, of course, you're talking about the ABC presidential debate simulcast here on Fox. So what does each side need to do? What's that going to look like, Bob?
I think, even though she's been vice president, she's still introducing herself to the country. We saw that at the convention. I think you've got to come across as likable. When you're electing a president, you're basically saying, at least for the next 4 years, I want you in my living room because we're going to be watching you. You're leading the country, dealing with foreign policy issues, and you got to come across as someone who's likable and also can relate to the every man and woman. And I think that's going to be key, and not be defensive. Both Trump and Harris at different times in different interviews have a tendency to be defensive. You can't be defensive in the debate.
Yeah, it was really interesting talking to Governor Sununu. When it comes to New Hampshire, it's not necessarily the broader economy that voters are listening for there. It's really the cost of living. That's the biggest issue, he says, for voters on the ground in his state. We've been reporting on Hunter Biden, all the twists and turns in his case, and the changing of this plea deal and the stunner that happened today. We're still waiting on more details. How does all this affect the election?
You know, I don't think it's as big as a deal because now it's Harris instead of Biden, but at the same time, a lot of skepticism that Hunter Biden is not going to get some type of pardon or commuting the sentence. And honestly, Harris has to answer that question as well. Biden has said he won't do it, and nothing's going to be done certainly before the election. But I think it's a good bet something's going to happen after the election.
All right, we're waiting on more details. Meanwhile, I want to talk about Pennsylvania and the battle for that state. We know how crucial this was to Donald Trump in 2016. And you look at where the candidates have been in that state just since August, Bob, really showing the importance on Pennsylvania from each campaign. So how are they doing there, and how is Pennsylvania shaping up at this point?
Well, Sandra, I mean, it's a real toss-up. There's no doubt about it. I think as Pennsylvania goes, the election goes, and that's why you're going to see them. You have seen them in Pennsylvania. You're going to see Pennsylvania residents may get tired of seeing the candidates because they have to win that. And it's not surprising, and it was very predictable. Actually, about a week before, I was telling people in the newsroom, there's no way Harris can keep her stance on fracking and win Pennsylvania. What'd she do? She changed her position on fracking.
She sure did. And she seemed to really be owning that and somehow talked about her positions evolving. Okay. Thank you very much, Bob. Good to have you on. We covered a lot there. All right. Good to talk to you. And of course, as we look forward, the debate will be the next moment where each candidate can present their views clearly to the American voters, and we'll be watching for that. Thanks so much for joining us here. Remember to catch me and John Roberts for America Reports, 1 p.m. Eastern Time weekdays on Fox News. Glad to have you here tonight. And right now, we look forward to the 5.
Interesting. Hi, I'm Greg Gutfeld, along with Judge Jeanine Pirro, Jessica Tarloff, Jesse Waters, and she's too short to ride It's a Small World. Dana Perino, the 5. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are about to make government great again, if that's possible. The former president outlining